What's going on? It's another great Friday. Shout out to Coop in the building, man. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, bro. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. We got Kane coming. Kane is he rhymes with crazy, lazy, busy, wishing, flesh from Bone Thugs and Harmony. He's coming in to give his take on what he saw on the versus stage. He was actually on the versus stage, so we'll double back and talk about that because there's a lot of mixed messaging going on with that, and we're gonna talk about some of his music and get you guys familiar to what he got going on because he got some hot shit going on. But speaking of some hot stuff or hot shit, hot music, I'm editing myself. Rick Ross dropped a new album today. Sleepy Brown and Big Boy finally dropped a big sleepover. And we're here to talk about it all, man. First off, man, while everybody's coming in the room, shout out to everybody in the room. Tell a friend that we live. You know the deal. But first off, first things first. Rick Ross dropped Richer Than I Ever Been. And 12-track album. Thought it was going to be 10 tracks. He gave us Hella Smoke with Wiz Khalifa. And he added something else. But off top, man, what was your reaction after hearing this album, man?
It's a very well put together album. It's one of those moments where you really have to give Ross some credit because of how uneven the last album was. I think the last album was probably his most lukewarm reception that he had gotten in a while. I also think rap was kind of transitioning literally right when he was making that album. And he is transitioned back in, no pun intended, like a boss, Mike. Like this album is pretty dope. I was wondering with him and Big Boy's album, I was wondering, man, are these top 10-ish like rap albums to you this year? Because it kind of felt that way, especially with Ross's album. Because when I go through the 12 songs, Mike, there's only really one or two tracks that I think really don't hit the mark. I mean, beat-wise, we know who he is. I mean, I think it's fair to say, Mike, isn't he the best beat selector ever?
He's one of them. To say ever is very, very high marks. And, it's one of those things that I think we might need to do a tournament or a discussion on. But he's up there. Yeah. He's one of those people, when I listened to it this morning, I thought about how I feel about when I listen to a Travis Scott album, right? I know that they're going to be working with some of the usual suspects in the music industry, right? But they sound different when they're working with them. We're gonna get to that in a second. Hearing Benny on this song that he's on, it's like, bro, this is what we've been expecting, and that's what me as a Benny the Butcher fan, when he releases an album. That's the level of a production and output that I'm expecting from Benny. We'll get to that in a moment. But saying all that to say, when somebody is on a Ross effort, you're going to get the best out of them. The only time I don't think we got that, and I appreciate the fact that they tried something different, was Future on Warm Words in a Cold World. Love the track. I love the whole Ill Bomb sample. I forgot the original, but the flip on that, I love that. I think Wale did his thing on there, but I don't think Future was utilized in the best way he could possibly be utilized. But I will give them high marks for doing something different with Future that most people wouldn't attempt to do.
So since you're starting off by talking about all the features, do you kind of want to unpack the features?
We can do that, man. Shout out to everybody in the room, man. People are saying that P. White says that best beat selector, tell Eminem, Big Coop. What? Tell him, no, I'm sorry, not Eminem. Why am I putting Eminem in this? He said, tell him, Coop. He agrees with you. When I see M, I just, think Eminem in this.
Just stop. No, it's early.
Andrell Green said Rick Ross and The Game are the best beat pickers in rap. So go ahead.
Let's start with so what's the first feature? Benny's feature? So Mike, I'm going to say something to you. Like when I heard the verse, I thought like this is his first or second best verse this year. I thought his verse on Hell on Earth 2 was probably his best verse. I think this verse is better than that. That would make it his best.
Than that. Yeah.
Yeah, this verse is better than that. That would make it his best verse this year, and I was thinking, is that a verse of the year contender? Because I've been currently like working on the verses of the year list. It's a lot of great verses this year, and so I need to kind of like check the stats to see if that's going to make it. But that's his best verse this year. Ross does an excellent job as well as anybody, and this is something that I guess we're old heads now. People from our era can appreciate. Ross does wonderfully what his great predecessors does, in that he brings you into his world, and you perform in that world, Mike. You and I have talked many times about how there are really a whole lot of features on Aquemini, and it still very much feels like Outkast world and Outkast album. Ross does a great job of that with his features. These are no different, you're right, except for the Future moment. I think the most surprising moment, Mike, is actually the song after Warm Words in a Cold World. It's Wiggle. Dream Doll came off nice to me.
I was gonna say that. Yeah, I'm with you. Dream Doll did her thing on Wiggle, and I think it's a banger.
She did her thing, Mike. No, she got down. That's what I'm saying. It's like, you know, that was a nice moment of her. That's probably going to be a single, Mike. We already know we're in Atlanta, so we already know where that's playing. So we already know where she getting love at, like with that. You know what I mean? And she snapped on there.
Deontay Smith says something that I was hearing in the barbershop earlier. He said, interesting to see there's no Meek on this album. That isn't
Mike. That's one of my notes. But let's go to the other guy who is. Wale's having a nice year, Mike. Wale snapped again, Mike. Yeah, I mean, he made a dope album this year. His features have been dope. Wale's out here performing. You know, he is.
I like where Rick Ross is in his career. I know we're talking about the features, and this kind of goes in line with that. And I agree with you. Ross does a really good job of welcoming artists into his world. But I think also kind of in a like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy type of way, people who come into Ross's world or on his albums and on his production, they understand the moment. And you're going to get the best out of people in that way too, because they know that, okay, the production's going to be there. This is going to get circulation. And Ross is always going to do his thing on the record too. So Ross has a unique way of kind of really showcasing people, because I know he said something about, you know, the Benny feature. He felt like it was his responsibility, being at the place that he is in his career, to expose, you know, a lot of people who might not be familiar with, you know, rappers like Benny to them. And I think all the artists that are involved in that understand that moment, and I think that's a wonderful place to be. I think we've seen Snoop Dogg be in that place this year as well, where you're opening the doors to your fan base and putting people in the best position to, you know, do their best job. 21 Savage is another person that people are saying in the comment section. I mean, pairing 21 Savage with Jasmine Sullivan, I mean, that's a different thing. That's one of those things that only Ross could do. He's kind of Ross is a curator. He's like Westside, right?
Mike, I was about to say, when the guy was picking the game, I was about to actually say, like, Westside's right there too, but you want to know what Ross does, and this is what I mean, like, he's the best beat picker ever. Like, Mike, people jump on his album, and, like, the shit becomes a movie.
Yeah. It
becomes a movie when they jump on Ross shit. Their shit don't be a movie. They on Ross shit, it's a whole movie, and then he kind of lays it out for it to be a movie. Mike, this is one of 21 Savage's best moments as an MC, Mike. Outlaws might be the highlight of this album. And it goes to the beat selection, the selection of placing the artist properly, and the artist understanding the moment and performing. It comes off, you know?
Yeah. So and again, really, when you see that track list, or not the track list, but when the single was released for Outlaw and we saw Jasmine Sullivan and 21 Savage, it's like, oh, this is an unlikely pairing, but I want to hear it. And they didn't disappoint.
No, Mike, it's one of the highlights of the album. Even when you're saying warm words in a cold world, Mike, the record is dope, and Future's actually dope on there, Mike. It's just not what we're used to hearing from Future.
No, when I heard the track, I was like, oh, okay, this is different.
And he's actually rapping. Like he's not on tune. He's not harmonizing. Like, no, he's like on his bar shit. Like he's like, you know, almost Dirty Sprite time with it when he was like rapping still.
Now, you know what? We're talking about features, and I don't want to jump around or anything, but again, in the barbershop today, I was talking about the Rick Ross album, and since the Russ album came out on a Wednesday, that was a topic of conversation as well. And a lot of people were really, really floored by, the Russ album. And some said it was better than the Rick Ross album. But see, the thing is, it's so different. And I think you pinpoint this when you said that it still feels like Rick Ross's album. And that is the only thing with something like a Russ project or what he just put out. Not saying that he can't make his own project, but this project is kind of not his. It is his, but it's like, and one thing I asked the people in the barbershop, I was like, well, is there a song on the Russ album where he outshined his feature? And nobody could give me anything. And that's no knock to him, Mike. But that just lets you know that they're not coming into his world.
Right. And so what do we do? So let's say, okay, so if we're just like checking all the boxes, the Russ project is a better project than the Rick Ross project, except for one thing that matters. It's like, well, no, this is Rick Ross's project. It feels like Ross's project. He's bringing people into his world, and it's a quality enough project to put up against the Russ project. It's like, well, which way are you leaning? Because like I said, the problem with the album is that it, with Russ's album, I'm saying, is that it sounds like a better done version of Peter Rosenberg's album this year, The Real Late, and the Static Selector from last year. It just sounds like that's done better. When an artist / producer does that, that actually takes away, not adds.
I agree. And what I was going to say was the only way that I could really give Russ, I guess, high marks against something else is if he produced the whole album, right? If this was like a 2001 situation or Chronic situation or something like that, and I know people are going to say, okay, Dre had help, whatever. But this Russ thing is a little different because you got The Alchemist producing stuff. You got Static Selector producing stuff. You got Ninth Wonder producing stuff. Harry Fraud producing stuff. And it's like, okay, it's hard for me to really even compare this to an artist that's basically making their own effort. So yeah, it's a compilation. Right. It's what it is. It's a compilation.
Right. So where it's going to be probably ranked on our list is kind of going to be more reflective of artists making projects that are their projects. So it's only going to be ranked better than the projects that it's just clearly sounding better than. That's where it's going to fall.
It's just so hard to rank any of those. Like you said, when we were talking about the Static Selector, and that was at the end of the year last year, and it was dope, and it had it were putting some great people together. Obviously, Static Selector's a dope producer, but it's hard to really put those against an individual artist who's, doing their own thing. It's almost like putting an all-star team up against a regular season team. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, okay, we're gonna put like the Grizzlies up against the Eastern Conference All-Stars or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it don't hit the same. That's why when the whole Russ thing, it's like album of the year. And Mike, we're doing our yearbook, and so like I'm going back and I'm listening and I'm like, well, no, I can't put this ahead of Isaiah Rashad's album. Yeah. I can't put this ahead of Tyler's album. I can't put this ahead of Nas's album, ahead of AZ's album, ahead of Westside's album. It's their albums. It sounds like their albums. The material is there. In the case of Nas's shit, it's like superior still, even with all the help that he just got. King's Disease 2 is still a superior album. Like I played them back to back just to like give it some run. There's just levels to this shit, Mike.
I gotta refute you on one thing, and I hate to say this, and I'm a Westside fan. I somewhat, on some levels, feel Westside's album as somewhat of a compilation in a way. And I think because it's so large, I think it's been very difficult for me to even rank it, especially since we want A and B to be considered one. And with all the people that are on it, all of the producers that are on it, and again, the same could really be said for Westside in this circumstance is what we're saying with Russ. It's really more about the features sometimes, and so it's very hard for me to rank it. I'm not saying it's as much of a collaboration as the Russ is, but it's hard for me to rank it when we're talking about other individual albums. Like you said, the Isaiah Rashad, it's hard.
So Mike, specifically, like just in my early rankings, I probably have the Russ right after the Westside,
Right.
like with how it's fallen. But let me tell you how and why it's falling that way right now. And I'm not done going back and listening to all the projects in full. Yeah, I just gave you a rundown of the ones that I did. I listened to Ransom's project again too. So let's go to Free Cutter with Jay Electronica. That's Westside bringing somebody the caliber of Jay Electronica into his world.
I was just going to say that. I agree with
you. So even though Electronica gets off, it still feel like Westside record and Westside songs. And most of the great collaborations on there still feel that way. Like Vogue cover with Stove. No, that still feel like that's Westside. Like,
yeah,
you know
like
what I mean?
If I heard these songs like straight up, I would probably be like, yeah, that's a Westside song. You know what I'm saying? But if I heard the Russ songs, I wouldn't know whose project it's on.
Right. Yeah. And also too, Mike, if we're just going song for song, the best songs on part 1 and part 2 of Hitler Wears Hermes 8 is better than the best songs on Russ's project.
I mean, again,
the verses lyrically might be better, but it's like, I mean, Mike, there's no Hell on Earth 2 on Russ's project.
No, that's real. But see, I said this even when we were talking about Westside's A and B. It's like, it's just been tough for me to really rank that project just because of how much music it is, how many people are involved, and I really wish he would have either put both of them out at the same time or just condensed it into one. You know what I'm saying?
Like, yeah, I wish he would have condensed, and here's why. Because like when I look at it, if I was picking like the 50 best songs this year, the album that would have the most songs that would make it would be Hitler Wears Hermes 8 side A and B. It's just long, it's inconsistent, it got released separately. But if we're just talking about songs, like if we're ranking the best 50 songs, it would be the album that has the most songs, actually. I mean, it's a double project, so it's a kind of a leg up thing, too. Yeah. But like I told you, Mike, Spoons, Vogue cover, Westheimer, Bash Money, Hell on Earth 2, Free Cutter, 99 Averex. Like, that's 8 or 9 tracks that I named you, Mike. Those are 8 or 9 of the 50 best rap songs this year.
Let's get back to Ross real quick. But I mean, we can get back on that and, you know what I'm saying, where things rank among the year. What was some of the standout moments on the Ross album for you? I'm hearing people on here saying that Richer Than I Ever Been is the best song on there. What did you think was the best song just off first listen?
Mike, they're right. That's a moment. I was actually thinking that's one of Ross's best moments on the solo tip. Just like he's got a lot of stuff. Like Ross's catalog is beautiful because Ross has great solo records. Ross has great collaborations. Ross has great street records. Ross has great hits. Richer Than I Ever Been, you can chalk over as one of his great solo songs by himself. It's not Amsterdam, but it's the next step down from. And at this stage in his career, yeah. Like I'm with them when like arguably Richer Than I Ever Been is up there. Outlaws is up there, Mike. Rapper Estates is dope. The Pulitzer. It's a dope project, Mike. I was actually thinking to myself, like, when was the last time he made an effort this good? Because I think the last project that he made that people really gravitated to was what's the one with Santorini, Greece, and Idols Become Rivals?
It'll come to me in a second. What do the people in the chat think? What do y'all think is the best song on this album? I'm seeing Little Havana on here.
Little Havana's dope too, Mike. Like I said, there's shit everywhere. Like, how about this? This is how you know the album is dope. When you're done listening to it, you're not quite certain what the best song is yet. That makes you want to listen to it again. That means there's about 4 or 5 records on there that's pulling you like that. That means the project is dope, especially when it's only 12 songs.
Well, you know what? I want to also play with this whole notion. I think you're talking about Rather You Than Me as far as the one with Santorini Green on it. We already seen Rick Ross in a versus situation with 2 Chainz, and it was, you know, Ross's catalog is overwhelming. And you say that Ross is the best beat picker.
He is.
In hip hop.
Are you listening to the tracks on this album?
Yeah, man.
Like you talk about the artists that get on the track and understanding the moment. Well, he understands that moment before they do.
I would say, yeah, that isn't a producer, and I guess that's what beat picking is when you're not the producer. It's hard for me to even think of anybody that I would put over him.
That's what I'm saying, because you can't think of anybody off the top of your head, and you're like, no, they pick better beats than Ross. No, they don't.
And the thing is, Ross doesn't always go with the hottest guy either, or the highest. Like, I would love to know what his process is like.
He knows what works for him, Mike.
Because at first, we were giving a lot of credence and a lot of credit to Justice League, as we should, because they've made some incredible music for Ross. But it's not just them. It's like, this guy knows what to pick. And
I mean, Mike, he hasn't. Okay, so I'm pulling up his studio albums because when I heard this today, I was thinking, well, his catalog is long enough. Where does this fall? So let's talk about his catalog briefly, if we can.
Okay, go ahead. I think that's a good conversation too.
Yeah, I don't think he has an outright just surefire classic album. I think the closest thing to it is God Forgives and I Don't. And if you tell me that's a classic, I'll agree with you. I think that's his best album. Do you agree?
What did you think about Deeper Than Rap?
Okay, Deeper Than Rap is probably when I was probably looking at him like, you want to know
breakthrough?
What? Yeah, that's, I mean, for me, like definitely on the MC side, Mike, but like as far as putting the songs together and who he is, I think he became who he is to us on Deeper Than Rap. I think Port of Miami and Trilla have moments, but they're uneven. It's a cat trying to get in the game. He's making hit records. He's politicking. He's doing his thing. The albums aren't that dope, Mike. They're like Port of Miami and Trilla to me are like 3.5. You know what I'm saying?
He's still trying to find his way. He doesn't really have his sound per se.
He doesn't have his
sound. He's creating his persona. But the song that I feel like changed everything for him is Here I Am, featuring
Here I Am, Mike. I was about to say, because you want to know what? Here's the thing. Here I Am is on Trilla, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, Nelly is still bubbling, and you know what I'm saying? Like Nelly's kind of like legendary by then. But here's what was beautiful about that record. It was a big hit record. But Ross came off better than Nelly, and Nelly was the certified hit maker, and you got the feeling that Ross went and got Nelly to help make it a hit, but you walk away from the record feeling like, well, damn, this shit's a hit even if Nelly isn't on it. And so he was kind of like, you kind of knew he was a star then. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Let me get, people in the chat are killing you right now. Everybody's saying Teflon Don is his classic. What do you say to that? You got BMF, MC Hammer on there, Super Highs on there, Freemasons on there. Maybach Music 3 is on there.
I love Super High. That's actually one of my favorite singles by him. And Mike,
I think Super High is better than the song with John Legend.
It is. But Mike, if people would give me time, because I was actually running it down in order, Deeper Than Rap is where he hits his stride.
Right.
Teflon Don is his second best album because guess what? The rapper on God Forgives and I Don't is a better rapper. The beat picker is the same. The stakes are higher. The hits are even bigger. Mike, Amsterdam, 9/11, Hold Me Back, Three Kings with Dr. Dre and Rick Ross, Jesus Piece, Diced Pineapples.
Yeah, I love Jesus Piece, man.
16 with 3 stacks. What y'all talking about? I just named like 6 or 7 classic Ross records. Y'all naming 3.
What about Rich Forever? That's on there too.
Mike.
I like God Forgives and I Don't a lot.
It's his best, Mike. It's his best project, Mike. Pirates. Pirates is gangsta. I love Pirates.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. I like that album better than Teflon Don. I mean,
because it's better, Mike.
He's very consistent, man. I love Deeper Than Rap, too, but I think I'm taking myself back to a time when Deeper Than Rap came out, and I always felt like it was such a big jump from his previous efforts. I think his moment, and it's interesting, we're talking about people having moments on his projects. His moment was Devil in a New Dress on My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. And so after that, Ross has been in stride ever since. Remember there used to be a Ross Jeezy conversation? That conversation is done.
See, here's what I'm saying is that God Forgives and I Don't is what killed that conversation. It was dead. So because here's the thing, like Ross had got to the point that he wasn't making hit records. He was making hit records that were beautiful and classic. That's what I'm saying. Is it's like, no, BMF and Super High, like those are big hits. Amsterdam's a fucking classic.
But what about Aston Martin music though? Because Brian Larkin's like Freemason, Tears of Joy, Live Fast, Die Young, BMF, Aston Martin music. That's a good debate though.
No, Mike, you know what I have for your Aston Martin music? I have Diced Pineapples. Good night.
I think your thing is he's a better MC on
Mike. The way he's putting the tracks together are better. It's like having Wale do the poem at the beginning of Diced Pineapples. He's thinking about it differently. He's on the chessboard different. He's not pawning it. He's not bishoping. He's kinging it on the board. He got pieces moving.
James Sims says Mastermind is slept on as well. You know what? I'm partial to Mastermind. I love Mastermind. I used to be in Miami a lot during that time period. My man Will used to live down there. This is when LeBron was on the Heat. So Mastermind was being bumped heavy, and I love that record. I love that album too.
You want to know what? You know who put me onto that? My man Mac from Cali put me onto that. He came up with the Little Rascals. You remember Little Rascals and all them?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the cats that used to roll with the Little Rascals and stuff. Mac make beats. I came to the crib one day to just hear what he was cooking up and shit, and he was playing Mastermind, and I sat down and listened to it, Mike. That might be, it's arguable, that might be his best beat selection album.
I think his most slept on project is Hood Billionaire, because he dropped that shit the same year as Mastermind. I like Hood Billionaire with Elvis Presley Boulevard on there. Shout out to everybody in the room, man. We got like 42 people in the room. We talking about Rick Ross's new album. What is your favorite Rick Ross album? And, what's your favorite song on his new album, Richer Than I've Ever Been? What were you going to say, Coop? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So this is what I mean about his career, though, Mike. He's just frighteningly consistent. All these albums are really good. Mike, Deeper Than Rap is great. Teflon Don, if you tell me it's a classic, no, I'm not going to argue with you. I think it's his second best album. Mm-hmm. Mike, God Forgives and I Don't. I think that's his best shit. I'm still playing God Forgives and I Don't. Mastermind. Mike, that might be his best selection. Like beat selection, like beat for beat, that might be his best joint. Hood Billionaire is underrated. Wasn't a big fan of it, Mike. Hood Billionaire would fall on the low ends of his albums, Mike, just because he's been so consistent.
Yeah, he got
Black Market
on too.
Black Market is solid too, Mike. Rather You Than Me is dope. That's one of his 5 best albums, Mike. Port of Miami 2 is probably falling on the lower end of the 5, but that's only because he just made Richer Than I. Like, he's got really dope shit everywhere. So when you look at it, Mike, he's always been solid. He doesn't have a bad album.
Is Richer Than I Ever Been?
Like, there's no Kingdom Come or Nostradamus on here. There's no Kingdom Come or Nostradamus in this catalog. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel you. Is Richer Than I Ever Been a top 5 Rick Ross album at this point, or is it too early to tell?
I think it's a little too early to tell, but I think it deserves maybe some 5 consideration. It's not better than Teflon Don. It's not better than God Forgives and I Don't. It's not better than Rather Than You Than Me. It's not better than those 3 for certain. It's not better than Mastermind either, so I would put it at 4th. So Conversation after that, I would say.
I like Devil Is a Lie on Mastermind, but you know what really got me on Mastermind is it's a song that I didn't think anyone should ever do.
Right. I already know.
He did his thing on Nobody. I mean, to take your Nobody to Somebody Kills You and throw French Montana on the hook, I'm supposed to not like this. But this shit is hard. It's hard, man. Listen, with the puffy speech that he got in there, it's like, that shit is chilling. And it makes me feel like, and I've always felt like this, since he hit his stride with Deeper Than Rap. I think Rick Ross raps over the tracks that if Big were still here, I would like to hear Big over.
Yeah.
I would love to hear Big over Super High.
Super High is a Biggie track for certain.
I would love to hear it, man. And I feel Jay probably feels that same way too, because Jay-Z raps with Rick Ross way more than he raps with Jeezy.
Well, you want to know why that is?
Hold on. I ain't even going to put Jeezy in it. Jay raps with Rick Ross more than he raps with anybody.
You want to know why, Mike? Because Ross is certified. Like, it's funny that you say that. I was thinking about Fuck With Me, You Know I Got It. Like, it came on my playlist, and I was thinking, I'm like, this is totally Ross's song.
It is.
It's totally
but listen, I like the one where it's just Ross. Now I hate that the one with just Ross doesn't have the build up that the other one has. Like we was on the road, and my fiance is a huge Jay-Z fan, and so I played the one with just
her.
Ross.
It's just her in the car that's a huge Jay-Z fan, Mike.
Yeah. I played the one with just Ross, and she was waiting for Jay's verse, and it was another Ross verse. Yeah, this is Ross's song, but yeah, I mean, he has an incredible catalog. A lot of that's due to production, and it's not just the production. He knows what he's doing on the production, and he didn't come in the game like that. Even though I think Hustlin' was a moment, and I still think Hustlin's one of his strongest songs, even though it wasn't on one of his strongest albums. But even after that, he found his lane, and he tucked into it in a way where every project is just solid and it's dope.
Mike, and here's what even makes it more solid, Mike, and we know this because we're down here. Oh, he living that shit that he talk about, Mike. Like my homegirls be like, just past Ross house, they had the film crew out there.
Ross is
you know what I'm saying?
And and regardless of whatever criminal shit that people want to say is amplified or just overstated to a certain degree, whatever. I think Ross's story and how he puts his music out there, it's basically telling you to go hard at whatever you do. You know what I'm saying? Mike, I think that's the message. The message isn't
and that's what's beautiful about his message, because here's where his message is different from a lot of people who speak the same rhetoric. Mm-hmm. Ross has always been kind of like, no, hustle at whatever it is your hustle is.
Yeah.
That's always been his mantra. And he kind of stands by that. His life looks that way. The bars look that way. And I was just pulling up God Forgives and I Don't. God Forgives and I Don't is a classic, Mike. I want to read these songs in order to you.
Go ahead.
And I know y'all say Teflon Don. Like, tell me, Mike, Pirates, Three Kings, Ashamed, Maybach Music 4, 16, Amsterdam, Hold Me Back, 9/11, So Sophisticated, Presidential, Ice Cold, Touching You, Diced Pineapples, 10 Jesus Pieces, Personal Favorite, Triple Beam Dreams, Rich Forever. That's a fucking classic, Mike. That's his best project. There's not a weak song on there. As a matter of fact, almost all the songs on there are great.
I like God Forgives and I Don't a whole lot. That's one of those.
Presidential's probably the weakest song on here, Mike. What is that saying?
I didn't know we were going to go on here and have a Ross catalog discussion, but it needs to be had. It needs to be had.
Dope. Like I said, because he doesn't have any true missteps in his catalog. That's what I mean. It's like, no, that catalog great. There ain't no real missteps in there. There's some like his worst albums are just good.
I think what do you
just good? Triller just good.
But see, again, it's like I don't really count those as his worst or weaker albums in a sense, because he still made his mark and he was still finding his way. So it's kind of like, it's like somebody who developed an all-star career and you sit there and say their first couple seasons were their worst seasons. I don't know how fair that is. So it's like you kind of grade worse on when you hit stride and then you kind of duck off.
No, you're right, Mike. So we brought up KD and I brought up how it's like, no. It's not normal that somebody goes and gets 25 and 30 to 35 points like every single night.
Yeah.
Like he's not one of those guys that goes and gets you like 17 points and then goes and gets 50. No, it's 25 to 35 every night. But Mike, his first two seasons, first season, 19 points. Second season, 24 points. Then he started averaging 28 to 30 all the time. So you're right about that, because even when you're like all-time great like he is at something which is scoring the ball, like he's the best scorer of basketball I've ever seen.
What did you think about Black Market? And what did y'all think about Black Market out there, like as an album?
So hold on. So let's see how many projects does he have now? 3, 6, 9. This is project 11. So
wow.
Black Market is going to fall in the middle.
What about Port of Miami 2? And you gave Port of Miami 2 very high marks when you did the review on it a couple years back.
I didn't give it super high marks. I think I just gave it a 4, Mike, didn't I?
Okay.
I gave it a 4.
I got to go back and research.
Yeah, I think I just gave it a 4, but I don't think it even deserved a 4. It probably deserved a 3.5.
I really liked, my favorite song on there was Fascinated. You know what? No.
I
I like Port of Miami too. I like the Nipsey track, Rich Nigga Lifestyle.
Yeah, no. Rich Nigga Lifestyle is dope. Nobody's favorite with Gunplay.
Yeah, I think we're spoiled by
that's what I
his
mean.
consistency.
Turnpike Ike. So here was the problem with Port of Miami too. Almost all of Ross's albums have some greatest hit stuff on there, and I think Port of Miami 2 might have been the first one that didn't have greatest hit stuff, because I think the closest that you're going to have to greatest hit stuff on there is probably Turnpike Ike. That's the classic. That's the closest to being classic Ross on there, I think.
Well, now that we're mentioning all of that, it looks like there's consistent features on, leading up to this album, and someone said it before we were able to even say it. Meek Mill's missing from this track list. What are your thoughts on Meek Mill not being on this Ross album where, the other usual suspect, Wale, is, and did very well, by the way? And Meek just put out an album not too long ago.
I'm about to say, Mike, it's very noticeable. One, Wale and Meek both dropped albums this year. There's the obvious affiliation, so it's just like blatant that he wasn't there. But also, let's just chalk it up to schedule and location.
You think that's what it is?
Until we get further information, Mike.
Okay.
I don't like to be the one to gossip. I mean, but it's just blatant that he's not there. Should he be there? Probably.
Yeah.
Is it obvious that he's not there, especially seeing how he had a project this year and it only behooves him to, I don't know, do this? Yeah.
Well, all right, listen, I ain't like the lady on Living Color. I ain't one to gossip.
Like, it's blatant, Mike, it's blatant, right? You funny. It's blatant that he's not there, Mike, but the project isn't missing him.
No, not at all. It could be one of those things where he didn't fit, although I could definitely hear him on the song that Wale and Future were on. But
I could hear him on there instead of Future, absolutely.
But I think what got a lot of people talking was how hard Rick Ross went in on Scottie Pippen and the contract thing in relation to Michael Jordan when they were talking about The Last Dance, just to kind of brief people up. When the story out there was with The Last Dance, Scottie Pippen said that, he didn't get paid such and such, and Michael Jordan got paid this. Rick Ross went on his live and was like, fuck Scottie Pippen. You supposed to negotiate your contract individually. And he was going hard on Pippen about contracts days after Meek Mill was out there tweeting that he hadn't gotten paid from music and threatening to put his contracts out there. So I think a lot of people put two and two together and felt like there was a possible rift there. But again, we don't know anything. Nothing's been confirmed. But the fact that he's not on this track list kind of adds a little bit of credence to those whispers.
You want to know what? No, correct about all those things. So, Richer Than I Ever Been, you want to know what it is? It's just showing Ross's consistency, because I'm trying to find somewhere to place it, Mike. If I was just placing it right now, it'd be his sixth best album.
And that's just due to the strength of his consistency.
Yeah, because I think just offhand, Deeper Than Rap, Teflon Don, God Forgives I Don't, Mastermind, Rather You Than Me are going to rank higher. But I mean, for him to be as far in the game as he is, because this is his 15th year in the game, for this to be his, sixth best project, and maybe better, we got to give it some more burn and see. Like Mike, I told you, I only heard one track that I really didn't care for. It's frighteningly consistent. He's frighteningly consistent, and that's why the project doesn't miss Meek. Ross really doesn't miss anybody, because here's what I'm saying. Like, when somebody usually gets somebody like Dr. Dre and Jay-Z on a track, it usually is one of those moments that you remember on an album, Mike. Sometimes you have to remind yourself that Three Kings is even on God Forgives That I Don't, because there are so many other records on there that stand out. That's a testimony to his greatness. That he can get Dr. Dre and Jay on a track and get a beat from Dre, and it's like, yeah, that's like the fifth or sixth best song on here, maybe.
It's one of those things, again, not to talk about Russ's album, and Russ has an identity, but Rick Ross has a clear identity, and anybody who works with him understands that, okay, I'm going into this world. And we saw that with Benny.
So Mike, let's go to the Dre beat. Dre usually doesn't do beats that are opulent like that. Like
You talking
with the
about Three Kings? He
yeah,
did that?
didn't he?
I don't know.
I think he did.
What
But
do
that
people
beat
say in
has
the
an
chat?
opulence to it.
Yeah, it does. I'm
Right. He
trying to
usually
hold,
don't do
hold. Let
tracks
me
like that.
find out real quick, just so we can
Right. I thought he did
be
Three
clear.
Kings. Don't that sound like Dre? Like when the beat dropped, I was like, oh, that's Dre. A little switch up.
Yeah, it does sound, I could see that, but let me see. I just want to be clear.
No, it's been a long time, Mike. It's been almost 10 years since that album came out.
That's a dope album. I didn't
Great.
realize how high you put that album, but it is. You know what?
Mike, did you listen to the songs that I listed off? Where's the weak record?
Let's see. Three Kings. Jake One produced that.
Jake One? Really?
Yeah. Is that the same Jake One that was on was he on Russ's album recently? Jesus.
Was he?
I think so. Oh, let me
Lord.
double check that. Yeah, man, Russ had an all-star. Yeah, Jake
One. Had everybody, dude.
Yeah, Jake One produced the Hustler freestyle song we were talking about. Jake One produced Sheep, which was the intro, and yeah, man, Russ came through, man. Yeah, so Jake One produced Three Kings. He also produced 2 songs on this current Russ project. All right.
He been getting work.
Well, that was like 10 years ago.
That's what I'm saying. He obviously still getting work, Mike.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so one of my favorite moments, definitely, man, I'm going to have to say Rap Estates. I love the sample.
You want to talk about Benny for a second, Mike?
Let's talk about Benny.
Well, you had some offline comments. You know what I'm saying?
Well, this is the thing about Benny, man. I think as a Benny the Butcher fan myself and as a Griselda fan, and we've talked about Griselda since this podcast started a year and a half ago, while they were in the midst of the best run that we had seen in hip-hop in a second.
Yeah.
Benny was always like my personal favorite based on his delivery and, you know what I'm saying, the way he presented. And I don't know, man. I think this feature right here on Rap Estates is the standard for me. And I know a lot of people who watch the show, they think I'll be being too hard on Benny when his album drops, and I just don't think he hit that rubber bands and weight mark, man. And this is the mark. Now, if him signing to Def Jam means that we're going to get 10 to 12 songs with this level of quality, I'm with it. And I hope that's it. You know what I'm saying? Brian with us says, new subscriber here, and this is my first time checking out y'all live. That's what's up, man. Tell a friend, tell a friend. What up, Brian? Go ahead and subscribe to According to Hip Hop on YouTube. Click the bell icon so you know when we're live. But yes, Benny, man, he killed this song, and this is the level of not level of consistency, but this is the level that I expect from him. And what I was gonna say is Conway has been the one who's been able to do this consistently. So in my mind, and you've been telling me this for a while, and in my mind, they're not even really close right now if we talk about individual output. I think Benny still needs From a King to a God. He still needs Pray for Paris. And if he's rapping at this level, on production that is at this level, I think we can get that from Benny. And I'm hoping this is like the beginning of something that we're about to see.
Right. So, you know, it's funny. I thought of Conway when I thought of Benny's verse, because you want to know what I thought about Mike, and here may be why you like Benny so much. Is there a rapper with a better rap voice than Benny right now?
Nah, man. I mean, I'm trying to think off top. I mean, with that flow and that delivery, it's hard.
No, that's what I'm saying. He's got a great voice and flow and delivery. And so you're looking for somebody to finish the job. And then you got Conway who keeps getting the job done. Like, Conway's voice is not as dope as Benny's voice. And so I think a lot of the reason why Conway doesn't get what Benny is getting has to do with the voice, because you can understand Benny so clearly and it's so crisp, and he punches in the way that a great MC punches in traditionally, the way a Nas punches in, the way a Jadakiss punches in, the way a Biggie punches in. No, he has that. But to what you're saying, like even with this, Mike, like this is a great performance for him, but only in the context of this year for me, because for me this isn't Rubber Bands and Weight level. It's his best level this year.
And maybe in the best level in the past 2 years.
No, Mike. I mean George Bondo. Okay. It's been his best level of the last 2 years.
George Bondo's crazy. You're right. And again, I always
98 forget. Sabres.
I always forget that Pray for Paris came out last year because it sounds so fucking classic. Right. It feels like we've always had this album.
No, 98 Sabres. So
you put 98 Sabres above this verse? I don't know about that.
Maybe. Well, I'll have to listen again. It's been a minute since I listened to 98 Sabres. But I'm saying all this to say is that, like, what he really did on this record is that he spit his shit without losing anything. So you can do that. Yeah. You can spit that Tana Talk 3 shit that you and me like. Like your thing is Rubber Bands and Weight. Mine is Rick. You know?
Right.
Like, no, you can spit like that and get it off in this climate. Go ahead and then go get it off. You're just going to have to craft it carefully. Look at the person who you're rapping next to and how he crafts stuff carefully.
I mean, he still doesn't have the cow moment. I mean, that's just my opinion.
I mean, first of all, I think the cow is one of the best verses ever by Conway. That's one of the best verses ever. Not too many people have those moments.
Yeah. I think the all-time greats do.
They do, but Mike, that's why I keep going back to that "Gods Don't Bleed" verse. Like, what do you think of that verse? Like, I think that verse is all-time great, kind of.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
You don't think so? Like, because I mean, when I hear that, man, it's like, no, he's breaking it down. Let's backtrack. Had my first daughter with my first wife. Caught my first quarter, caught my first strike. Set up by a nigga I served twice. He got picked up. Then he bitched up like the nigga was about to serve life. I turned over dollars. How you do explain that? Straight facts. Blood on the money when they got paid back. You know them hustlers who slang packs. I'm tied with them same cats in case I gotta get my name back. All the nights I had to pray for this, they gonna pay for this. No mistaking it, got a safe with no more space in it. Yeah, that's all-time great, Mike.
Tom and that says Benny got the ability to be the most commercial out of the label. I agree. He has the tools to do that. Yeah, and I thought we were gonna get that with Burden of Proof. To me, and I know a lot of people like Burden of Proof a lot, but I just thought it was underwhelming, and maybe because the Hit Boy pairing of doing the whole project, and we're so used to hearing him over such gritty shit.
Right, but Mike, okay, so here's why years in competition matter. Last year was so great that I think we had Burden of Proof at like 12 on albums of the year. But Mike, if it were to come out this year, it'd be a top 10 album pretty easy.
Yeah.
That's why when I bring up the Kendrick thing about comp, that's why I'm talking about that comp matters, because if Burden of Proof were to drop this year, it's probably up 5 or 6 spaces.
No, you're right.
Yeah, because I can't think of 6 or 7 projects better than Burden of Proof this year. I could come up with about 10 last year. Yeah. So I did.
Last year was stacked.
Yeah. Last year was stacked. Mostly because of his crew, Mike. Like, his crew is part of the reason it was stacked.
I mean, Westside put out 3 albums, in my opinion, that were better than Burden of Proof.
I mean, Mike, literally the top 3 albums, we got him at 12. Well, the top 3 albums, one is with your they're your cousins. Like your cousins made the best 2 rap albums last year. And then the guy who I think you've rhymed with the most outside of your camp, which is Freddie, made the 3rd best album.
Yeah, man. When
I'm saying he made the 3rd best album, like I told you, anybody that would have told me Alfredo was the best album last year, I wouldn't argue with him.
No, definitely.
They told me From a King to a God was the best album last year, I wouldn't argue with them. When they told me we thought it was Pray for Paris, but Mike, it's rare that you get a year where there are 3 classic rap albums and you're like, no, you can pick one of those albums the best album of the year. So he fell in a year like that, because probably in any other year, Burden of Proof is going to probably be a top 5 to 10 rap album.
And you know what? And it wasn't even just because
fell in a heavy year. That's with the competition.
But no, these guys are in your circle, so it's like there's probably like hella pictures of Freddie, Westside, Conway, and Benny in the same room. So
Mike, Mike, no, my favorite photo from last year.
And somebody said, don't forget Baldy James. Yes.
Mike, we had a price of tea in China at number 6 last year.
Yeah.
Hello. I'm going to talk about Baldy in a minute because I thought about something when I listened to Bo Jackson. Mike, I saw a photo last year. It's my favorite rap photo last year. Guess who it was? It was Conway, Benny, and Gibbs standing next to each other after a show. And they said on the caption, 3 of your top 5 right now. And I was thinking, you motherfucking right.
Yeah, straight up. But see, the thing is, man, when you got Pray for Paris, From a King to a God, Alfredo, and then you put out Burden of Proof, I guess in my mind as a listener, and this is the collective, and we had, so much anticipation for Benny, then next to those 3, it's definitely going to be underwhelming.
Right.
But see, it wasn't set up in a similar way in those either, because when you got Alchemist producing the whole thing as opposed to Hit Boy, that makes things a little different.
So, Mike, I was about to say something. So let's go to these Boldy projects right quick because I was listening to Bo Jackson and figuring out where to rank it because it's a top 10 rap album this year. This is his second straight year making a top 10 rap album. He made a price of tea in China last year. Here's something Boldy understands. He understands that Alchemist understands him, and he understands that Alchemist is one of the greatest producers of all time, and he's going there, Mike.
Yes.
And so Benny needs to go where it works with who understands him. You get what I'm saying?
I think there's a thing, and I don't know this, but it seems like Benny wants to go in his own path. And
right? No. Yeah. That's obvious, Mike. Mike, that's obvious. But I say this about Boldy because I've given him enough props on this show when people have jumped up and criticized him. I'm like, yo, you better stop talking about dude. Fam can spit. He's diverse. He knows how to write 3 songs in a hook consistently, record to record, and make the record sound good. But he's not Benny. But for the second straight year, he's made a project just clearly superior to him. It was a price of tea in China last year, and it's Bo Jackson this year.
DeCarlo says, I got Boldy above Benny right now, honestly. What do you think about that?
Mike, what did I just... Mike, because you want to know what? The burden of proof says that he is. Because a price of tea in China says so. Because Bo Jackson says so, Mike. Because he's like, nah, fuck all that. Have Alchemist cook up the whole joint. And that's what I'm saying is like the project that we want to hear from Benny, I have a feeling that it's like, well, here are the guys that need to be producing it. Alchemist, Derringer, Beat Butcher, Premier, Havoc. He's not doing that. And so we're going to have to wait and see.
Benny is reminding me of my favorite rapper in the 90s right now, Method Man.
He reminds me of Method Man.
He is right now. I mean, when you're looking at all the shit that his crew is making right now, this is where Method Man was standing when Takal was out, and you got Only Built for Cuban Links out there. You got the dirty version out there. You got Liquid Swords out there. You got Iron Man out there. That's what this is.
You want to know what, Mike? The Method Man is very appropriate because there's really not anybody out here with a better voice or flow than Benny, much like Method Man. Here's what I will give Method Man. Method Man had this guy named the Notorious B.I.G. vocally and flow-wise to contend with, so it was never clear-cut Meth. But when I listen to Benny, it's like, no, he's got the best rap voice. He's got the best rapper delivery. Like, at least with Meth, it was like a big Meth conversation. It's like, well, if you thought Big's voice was better, I can't knock you for that. Or if you thought Big's flow was better, well, I can't knock you for that. But it was mostly those two guys as far as voice and delivery. Benny is clearly, to me,
has Snoop Dogg, too.
Yeah, we can put Snoop in that, too. But what I'm saying is that I'm talking about when you're talking on that high level. But here's what I'm saying. Well, look at the guys that he's on a high level with. Well, he clearly has a better voice and flow than Gibbs and Conway. Like, he has a better voice and flow than them. Their projects are coming off better.
I'm going to keep it real.
And when I'm saying his flow is better, I'm kind of using that in past tense because Conway is just bananas at everything.
I was going to say, yeah, Conway's definitely the most balanced, and he sounds comfortable over everything.
Just bananas at everything.
I've never been a big Gibbs fan like that, and I've become more and more of a Gibbs fan over the years, and after Alfredo, I'm there. But he rapped his ass off on Alfredo. You know what I'm saying?
Like you can hear it.
Yeah.
No, like you can hear
the hunger is crazy for somebody who's been in the game this long.
you can hear him seizing the moment. Like it's almost like he understood what Alfredo was even before we did, maybe even before Alchemist
I
did.
didn't hear that in Benny and Burden of Proof. I just didn't. And and I hope that I do in his next
baby
full
shit,
effort.
Mike. Baby shit. Yeah. Ain't nobody ever gave me shit. I had to take the shit. Man. He's hungry. Like he's like 7, 8, 9 years in the game. He just Mike, you gotta understand, the year before he just made the best album of his career. Yeah. Like he just made Bandana.
Yeah.
Like that was his best shit. Like he walked in and made Alfredo like he didn't just make Bandana last year.
Yeah, DJ Bruce Almighty says the Black Illuminati is record of the year. That's the record with Gibbs and Jada. And
Mike,
it's a great pairing right there too.
When we first heard it, didn't we? Was like when you were like one of the best rap songs of the year. Yeah. I was like, well, that's easy. It's like it's just about like Mike. I immediately thought is this better than Hell on Earth 2? Because that's the best rap song I heard this year, and I was like,
man, Hell on Earth 2 is gross, man. Listen, I don't know, man. I'm gonna listen to both of them side by side, and y'all know that we on some real hardcore shit with this, you know what I'm saying? So we're not talking about, I guess, best radio single per se, but
no, we doing rap shit, man. Fuck that single shit.
Yeah, man.
Freddie, single still exists,
right? What is the biggest quote unquote rap single of the year?
What's the biggest rap song this year? Somebody tell me, because I only know what's good and what's not.
Would it be something like Jack Harlow's "What's Poppin'" or something?
Mike, if that's what's poppin', then that's why this list ain't gonna have shit like that on it. Because that's not anywhere.
But like, I would love to see the hunger in Benny that I've heard in Freddie in the past 2 years, man.
The hunger that you hear on Black Illuminati.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, Freddie's rapping his ass off, man. And like you said, he doesn't have the voice that Benny has and the delivery that Benny has. Anyway, I think that his appearance on this Ross album kind of is a really bright spot where it looks like, okay, Benny's hungry right now. He sounds great on here, but I don't want it to be fool's gold because everybody sounds great on the Ross album.
So, Mike, that's what I mean about competition matters, because it makes me excited, because here's what we have to look forward to for next year. Oh, Kendrick dropping a project?
Is he?
Oh, that's...
I don't know.
No, Mike, yes, he is. Mike, and he has to contend with Benny and Conway and Gibbs and Pusha next year.
And now Jay Electronica, he's rapping again too.
And now, Mike, now let's see you make album of the year. Now, because here's the thing. Benny's going to drop a project next year. Conway's going to drop a project next year. That's just in their MO. Oh, Gibbs just dropped Black Illuminati. He's dropping a project. Pusha T had his personal family issue. I'm pretty certain that's what put his album on hold. Oh, he's coming with his project. Yeah. Mike, Electronica's done work like he literally has never done before. Mm-hmm. He might drop a project. Oh, no, that's real comp. Now go make album of the year.
Because now the narrative's not Kendrick, Cole, Drake, and shit no more. You know what I'm saying?
No. Mike,
there's a whole different breed of MCs out there.
Mike, did you listen to the guys that I just named? I said next year you have to go contend with Benny the Butcher, Conway the Machine, Pusha T, and Jay Electronica. Oh, no. If you are who we say you are. No. Who we say you are. I put him in my top 10 4 years ago.
Well, times have changed.
1 on 5. And it's like, no. If you're a top 10 MC, go ahead and fade these guys right quick, because none of them are.
You know what? At the end of the day, man, I used to put Kendrick that high too. But I'm just going to have to be real.
No, I'm going to leave him there until I hear his next album. But that's who he's dealing with next year.
I don't like the break. Listen, Mike, I don't like the gap at this point in his career. I don't.
No, Mike, that's why I told you that Rakim gap, though, was real. So here's what I'm saying. When Rakim left, he was the greatest MC of all time. He got treated as such when he popped back up in 1997. If he's a top 10 MC all time, we're going to treat him like a top 10 MC all time. But this top 10 MC all time needs to go out there and show with his album that he's a top 10 MC all time, because because for the first time, this is what I'm saying. No, you got some active top 10-ish type of guys like right there around you. So let's see what's what. Because
do y'all think Kendrick's the top 10 MC all time? Because I used to, but I'm kind of off that. I hate to say it. I'm kind of off that.
You can't be off that until he gives you a reason to be off that. We don't have a
He
reason
has
to be off it.
given me the reason to be off it. He ain't making no music. He's in his prime. Who stops at this point? And then when we start thinking about the fact that every time he's dropped album, he's dropped them in weak years. Rakim didn't do that.
Mike, Rakim dropped in two of the strongest rap years ever.
And again, I think
he made arguably the best rap album both times.
Yeah, and I think Rakim's career is so early in the rap industry that it's hard to even put it up with this, because there are people who had careers well before Kendrick who have dropped more material than Kendrick has in the past. Nas has dropped 4 albums since the last Kendrick album. Nas is 27 years into his carear. I'm sorry.
First of all, Nas is the GOAT. Nas is the GOAT.
No, but I feel you, but he don't have to do this.
But Mike, when you say that like the competition is different, competition is still competition. Like there was a year that I believe Wilt Chamberlain averaged 50 points and 25 rebounds. Oscar Robertson averaged a triple-double. Bill Russell won MVP. The league was shorter. It was more condensed. The competition was still very, very real because you had guys that were doing all-time great stuff and still couldn't win the MVP award. So what I'm saying is like, no. When Rakim is sitting up there doing what he's doing with Paid in Full and Follow the Leader, no, that says something, because when you go look at those albums, it's like, Mike, those are the albums like he dropped in years that like the shit that we base our rap shit on. Those albums dropped in those years, and he arguably made the best project in those years. That's part of the reason why he's considered to be the greatest. Mike, for whatever people want to say, Mike, I don't care what nobody say. When Illmatic came out and Ready to Die came out, I didn't hear anybody say that Ready to Die was better.
Listen, man, Brian.
Competition matters.
Brian with it says, what do y'all think about Kendrick's verse on Family Ties? Right. Exactly. Trash.
Let's go ahead and give Mike some more fuel.
Trash.
Mike. But what I'm saying, okay, so how about this? Let's say he's a top 10 MC and we have him at number 10.
Hold on, let me get to another comment. Midget Mike says, facts, Kendrick Lamar dropped the album every 3 or 2 years, unlike Jay-Z, who dropped the album every year when he was hot. Yeah.
That hasn't served Jay well. Because the projects haven't aged as well. The projects haven't aged as well, Mike.
So Kendrick's projects have aged well?
Mike, what would you rather hear, To Pimp a Butterfly or Volume 2?
You're going to name Volume 2. I'd rather hear the Blueprint over To Pimp a Butterfly if we're going to play those games.
No, Mike, I was thinking about third albums is what I was doing.
Is that what you were doing?
Thinking about third albums.
See, we don't even know what's Kendrick's second, third, fourth album. Like, we all have
Mike,
different...
according to you, is Section 80, Good Kid, Mad City. That would make To Pimp a Butterfly third. Volume 2 is third for Jay. What would you rather listen to? You see what I'm saying?
I feel
some of this... Right. And so understand this. And this is what I mean about his projects and why he is top 10. So you got Section 80, right? You got Good Kid, Mad City. You got To Pimp a Butterfly. You got Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, Nas's fourth album is Nostradamus. He was already top 5-10 to most people. Some people thought he was still the greatest. Mike, Jay's fourth album is Volume 3. Listen to the fourth albums that I just named. Both of those guys were top 10 by the time they had dropped their fourth projects.
P. White says Kendrick's
Nostradamus in Volume 3 don't have shit on Damn, Mike. So he's so let's put him.
I don't know, man. See, this is the thing, right? And I get it. And I think that we're looking at it from an analytical standpoint, and on a journalistic level, these albums, they get high marks. You know what I'm saying? They're very, what's the word I'm looking for? They get critical acclaim.
They check the boxes.
They do check the boxes, especially on a technical level when you talk about musically and putting together the songs and just on that level. But when we talk about, does Kendrick have a lot of songs that we're pulling from there? And you've said this to me before, that we're pulling from there that people are really going to be playing. Then the list gets slim. It gets slim. And it's not like Nas. Like when Nas' fourth album, nigga, we got If I Ruled the World, we got Street Dreams, we got fucking Hate Me Now, The World Is Yours, Nas Is Like. I can't say that we got those things for Kendrick. As dope as of an album as I think Damn is, I'm not throwing on DNA. I'm not throwing on Humble. I'm not.
No, I be turning up the DNA sometimes, Mike.
Would you rather? Let's do this. Since we're talking about the current pool, which album would you rather listen to, Alfredo or Damn?
Oh, Alfredo's a better album.
Which album would you rather listen to, Daytona or To Pimp a Butterfly?
Daytona's better.
I mean, it's just what it is, man. Like, I don't know, man.
Mike, First of all, when you're bringing up Daytona,
he's about to step into.
Hold on, Mike. When you're bringing up Daytona and Alfredo, I want you to understand you're bringing up what I consider to be 5 of the best rap albums of the last 5 years.
Well, see, I'm only bringing up these albums because they were album of the years or album of the year contenders. When, if we talk about 2017, Damn was album of the year, right? 2018, Daytona was album of the year, right?
Right.
So that's why I'm doing that, and it's like.
No,
I don't know, man.
It
really reveals that Kendrick has dropped in weaker years, and if he ever drops again, he's gonna drop in a more quality pool of a hip hop game.
No, so this is what I mean. So if he is who he is, time is gonna tell too. So let me go back and tell you something. One of the biggest problems was it was written isn't just Nas and the production selection, Mike. It's the year, Mike. It was hard to appreciate. It was written because 94 was great, but it was mostly filled with highs, and the highs are clear, and it's clear that Illmatic is the highest of the high. In 1996, Mike, there's like about 10 to 12 highs that you could ride. What you want? You from the South? You like ATLians and riding dirty? Mike, you want Philly to show his face? How about Philadelphia Half-Life? Mike, Brick City, Muddy Waters, Brooklyn in the house, Reasonable Doubt. Mike, Jersey back in the house. Again, Fuji's with the score. Part of the problem why it was written didn't get appreciated till later is there was so much other classic rap shit to appreciate. He's never dropped in a year like that. He's never dropped in a year like that. It was written, has gone up the ladder over time. But when it was written, drop, people were like, "Oh, well, that's a top 10 rap album this year."
Kendrick now was dropping in years,
top 3-ish.
Kendrick was dropping in years that looked like 1997. If we put things in context,
yes, all his years look like 97.
Yeah,
yes,
you know what I'm saying.
They look like where the best albums are 4s, and then there's usually one really, really great album. Yeah,
and so. Yeah. At this point, I kind of have to dial things back and put things in context, especially in the fact that, again, another thing that hurts Kendrick is the fact that he doesn't have those songs that, to be the artist as big as he is and as skilled as he is and highly regarded as he is, he doesn't have those hip-hop classics where we feel like we couldn't do without. I would say his biggest song, or as far as like the song that rings the most, might be All Right. Is that fair?
I was thinking All Right or Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe.
I think we can do without Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe. I mean,
no,
in the
Mike,
grand scheme.
I was about to say when you name those 2 records, it's like, well, that's not The World Is Yours or One More Chance or Dead Presidents. Now,
and I know we're skipping eras, but even if we talk about
Mike,
people from today,
Mike, I was actually thinking, no, let's keep it West Coast. Is any of those records even How We Do by The Game or Dreams by The Game? Is it even Dreams by The Game?
I don't think so. You know what I mean?
Mike, you want to keep it, Mike, you want to keep it West and get into that classic Snoop, Cube, and Pac shit?
I mean, we could, but I mean, let's go to even like a Lupe Fiasco or something. What about Kick Push?
No, All Right's better than Kick Push, Mike. I think so.
Okay.
It doesn't feel as classic, but I think it's a better record. And I love Kick Push. I was actually thinking, Mike, where is his Dumb It Down since he's such a supreme lyricist when you brought up Lupe? I was thinking, where's the Dumb It Down? Yeah, I was actually thinking, where's the Dumb It Down? So, Mike, to me, he's more on the lyricist side of the great MC side of things. So he falls what I would call more on the Rakim, Nas, and Black Thought side. So my question is...
Rakim got bangers.
No. So my question is okay, Where's the I gave you power? Where's the follow the leader? Where's the rewind? Where's the lyrics of fury?
Yeah.
Those are my questions about him. That's why I have him on the back end of the 10. Because Mike, well, that's what I'm saying. If you want to go first 4 albums, well, Mike, as far as guys that are as talented as him, you kind of got to go to Rakim to see somebody that's made 4 quality projects out the gate like that at a high level. But no, record for record, no. I be asking myself like those same questions I was saying about Eminem. And Mike, I can't front through this whole conversation. I hate to bring him up. I was thinking about Eminem and if Kendrick is really our black version of Eminem.
He is somewhat, and I'm not gonna be a hypocrite.
Here's the thing: he does everything that M does. He checks all the boxes technically, but he has soul, so it resonates with us a little more. But Mike, much like Eminem, there ain't no "The World Is Yours." There's no rewind. I gave you power. There's no who shot you. There's no 10 crack commandments. There's no 22 twos. There's no dead presidents. There's no streets is watching. There's no kicking the door. There's no lyrics of fury. There's no follow the leader. Like totally.
There's no ain't no half stepping. You know what I'm saying?
Mike, I was about to get off in Chris shit, Mike. There's no the bridge is over. There's no my philosophy. There's no 9mm goes bang. No, it's not there.
No, and he is very similar to Eminem in that way. I think the difference between Eminem and Kendrick is the fact that Kendrick's just put together better albums.
Yes,
but they have a very similar
skill set.
Yeah, they do. They do have a very similar skill set.
Because that's what I'm saying. Like,
and Kendrick's more positive, and he don't be talking that crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? I think that those are on a technical level, they're very similar.
No. Because what I was about to say is, Mike, that riff, that second verse riff that Kendrick goes on Feel. Oh, Eminem does that all the time. It's just the shit that he says doesn't resonate like it did with us the way Kendrick did on Feel. Because that rant that he went on and the way that he flipped it, oh no, Mike, I've heard him do that since M walked in the game.
DeCarlo says that Kendrick Lamar doesn't have a stand. What do you think about that? I was going to say Sing About Me. I think Brian Larkin said Sing About Me.
I was actually thinking how much a dollar costs is actually better than Stan. If we're talking story to story, bar for bar.
How much a dollar costs is brilliant. And again, I can
like
sit
I told
back
you,
and
how much
listen.
a dollar costs to me is one of his 5 best songs.
I'm a person that thinks that To Pimp a Butterfly is his best album.
Mike, I'm not to cut you off. That's the closest thing he has to a rewind, to a I gave you power. Like that's his closest thing to it is how much a dollar costs, or Duckworth.
I love Mortal Man too. Like I think for me,
Mortal Man's dope.
Like
Mortal Man rides. That's one of the few records on the album that rides, Mike, where you can put that shit on in the car and you're like, yeah.
Jevin June says something I guess that we're all saying in a nutshell. Kendrick lacks a lot of replay value. And it's interesting because I don't know if, and you said that to me when I was ranting and raving about To Pimp a Butterfly, and I still rant and rave about To Pimp a Butterfly, but
Mike, I said
never
that when To Pimp a
listened
Butterfly came out. I said it when it came out.
It's one of those albums, and I can't think of a lot of albums in hip hop where I would say this is brilliant, and I never really go back and listen to it. Like I only listen to Pimp a Butterfly when I guess I make a conscious effort to do so. It's not like I'm just scrolling or whatever, and I'll throw on something from like Supreme Clientele, or I'll throw on Daytona, or I'll throw on Alfredo like I did the other day. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't ever go back to Pimp a Butterfly. But I think it's brilliant. And I think that is so mind-boggling to me that Kendrick makes such brilliant music that doesn't have replay value. How is that even possible?
Because, Mike, To Pimp a Butterfly is more like that beautiful piece of artwork that you hang on the wall in your house. It's not the piece of art that you sit up there and, like, it's hanging on the wall in your house. It's not the centerpiece. People treated it like the centerpiece. No. It's hanging on the wall. It's hanging on the wall in the hallway.
I mean, because even when you listen to All Right, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just the concept of it, the timing of it, and then the fact that he's killing it. It's like 20 of them in my Chevy, tell them all to come and get me, reaping everything I sold, so my karma coming heavy, no preliminary hearings on my record, I'm a motherfucking gangster in silence for the record. And it's like, this is a single? But it's like, it can't be denied, but again, I don't really go back to it. I think the one album that he has where commercially people go back to is Good Kid, Mad City. And then for me, I feel like, just especially after hearing To Pimp a Butterfly, I feel like he made Good Kid, Mad City for the industry and not for himself. I don't think that's the album he wanted to make. I
How
think
about this,
Damn
Mike?
and To Pimp a Butterfly are more him than Good Kid, Mad City is. Good Kid, Mad City sounds like Dr. Dre tutelage.
No, okay, so how about this? I think he made Good Kid, Mad City for Compton.
Okay.
I don't like when I hear swimming pools, like I hear Compton, I don't hear Kendrick. Like that album is about Compton to me. You know what I'm saying? Like he made that album for Compton, Mike. Like the only time where he's playing the game on that album to me is the Poetic Justice. Everything else is for Compton, Mike. Backseat Freestyle, no, that shit for Compton. Bitch, that's for hard. Compton. That shit for Compton, Mike. Singing Me, I'm Dying of Thirst. No, that shit for Compton. Like he made that album for Compton. That's why I call it the West Coast Illmatic, because it's rare that somebody makes a rap classic that's about their hood, that's really for their hood, that every other hood gravitates to, because it's like, no, that sound like my hood, and it sound like Kendrick, like the good kid that want to get out the projects, but he's still hanging with the homies, he's still gang banging, he's still messing with an old girl up the block, like Kendrick, like him immediately.
Yeah,
they
did a really good job of articulating that, and I don't know, man. I just don't know where with all those things being said, and us just going through his catalog like that, I don't know where the next album goes. I'm interested to hear where the next album goes. I feel like and I've said this in previous shows, I feel like the gap is not good. Sounds like it's not really flowing over there like it should be. And the letter that he wrote, the exit letter, I didn't think that was good either. It's not a good sign that good music is coming out. It makes it harder too. Like the longer the gap, the tougher it makes.
So I'm gonna go back to Rakim right quick in the gap, because we talked about this during the last show. Mike, if this album is not up to par with what we're expecting, much like the 18th letter for people wasn't up to par, but let me tell you what about that album wasn't up to par, because I remember it very well. Oh, it's the production, Mike. Because when the production was there with Rakim, what you heard was the greatest MC of all time, even still in 1997. This is Nas 2 albums in. This is Jay 2 albums in, because Rakim and Jay actually dropped the same day. Volume 1 and the 18th letter came out the same day. I remember. I picked up both of the CDs. My man Gary was driving me. We went to his house up off Beatty's Ford. Like, I remember, because I played the albums back to back. Like, Mike, lyrically in 1997, for everything that Jay was, 97 Hove, oh, Mike, there's nothing on Volume 1 lyrically like The Saga Begins. Okay?
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying. Even in 1997, is Volume 1 better than the 18th letter? Yes. Is Jay a more well-rounded MC than Rakim is in 1997? Yes. But do you hear evidence of the greatest MC of all time that even somebody like Jay-Z in 97 still can't fuck with? Well, yes.
Well, yeah.
And so he doesn't have to make Good Kid, Mad City, Damn, or To Pimp a Butterfly, but there needs to be evidence. So there needs to be It's Been a Long Time, The Saga Begins, New York. Like he had some joints on there where you hear him and you hear the beat and you're like, oh, this is the best MC ever. You know?
Right. I'm listening to you, but
so you need to hear some records where you hear somebody that's in conversation for being the top 10 MC of all time. I think he can pull that off. I'm not expecting Damn or To Pimp a Butterfly or Good Kid, Mad City. It's been 5 years. Nobody's ever pulled that off.
See, the problem is, people who've been in the game longer than him are still putting out quality output. So it's like, you know what I mean? So it's a little different when you talk about Rakim and Jay and Rakim re-entering. We got people like Pusha T who are making seminal records, right? We got people like Freddie Gibbs who've been in the game for a long time too, making some of their best work. And so on an optics level, we're not going to sit here and treat Kendrick like and not to mention Nas. We're not going to sit here and treat Kendrick like he's been around since the 90s. You know what I mean?
So, Mike, let me say something right quick. That's why King's Disease 2, I told you, Mike, it's a potential game changer, because we're talking about Kendrick being on a break for 5 years, and what may happen to his career. And we have a guy who was arguably the greatest MC of all time before he made the album of the year that just went out and made the album of the year, Mike.
Yeah.
So that changes the whole notion of the conversation. Now, Mike, what Nas just did with KD2, that's the type of thing that's going to get Kendrick slid out the top 10, because it's like, oh, well, the dude that made Illmatic in 1994 made King's Disease in 2021, and you taking 5 years off. Where your hot shit at?
Exactly. That's where I'm at. You know what?
It changes everything. No, that changes everything. That's why I said, oh, his next project, Mike. Oh no, his next project, it needs to be comparable to King's Disease 2, From a King to a God, Pray for Paris, Alfredo, Daytona. You want to know why? Because those are the rap classics that have come out since he's been gone. He's been considered to be the greatest MC. Well, I'm measuring you up against what the best shit been made since you've been gone.
Period.
The level is Daytona, KD2, Alfredo, From a King to a God, and Pray for Paris, and Astro World, to be specific about albums. Those are your levels.
I think things have elevated since.
No, Mike,
let me get Kane in the room.
Those are all-time great rap albums. When I'm saying they're the best best rap albums of the best 5 years, oh, Mike, we could probably push it back 10, and I might pick those same albums.
Exactly.
We got to actually get to Good Kid, Mad City, and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Oh shoot! What happened? Hold up, guys. I think I accidentally hung up on Coop. Let me go ahead and get Coop and Kane in the building, man. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Shoot. Sorry about that, everybody. A little technical difficulties. Let me get Coop back in the line, and let me see if Kane is in the line. We got Kane from Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland, Ohio MC about to come into the building. Don't forget Booker Ryan. Yes, Booker Ryan was jamming. Oh, let me get my people back online. Hold on, start this real quick. Let's see. So yeah, Kendrick's jumping in a whole new game. Let me get to some of you guys' comments while we're waiting on everybody to get back. DeCarlo says Kendrick got to make his Stillmatic with a dope diss to everyone in the game. Let's see. There we go.
Hello.
Yo, what's going on, man? We got Kane in the building.
What's good with it, bro?
What's good, man? We ready to go? Hold on, you're breaking up, man.
What up?
Oh, you were breaking up. I didn't hear you.
Hello?
Yeah.
Or whatever. I want to get to the house to do it.
Okay, cool. That'll work.
At 6 o'clock, we can be 100% official.
Okay, cool. That'll work. Let me get Coop back on the line. All right. Sorry about that, y'all. Let me get Coop back on the line, man. Coop gonna curse me out. Let's see. Resume this call. Coop, you there?
Yeah, I've been here the whole time.
The whole time? Yeah, it wasn't
actually, I kind of felt like it was like a chronic break, so I went upstairs right quick. But
No, man. I tried to get Kane in the room. We actually were going to interview Kane as well, who is a part of Bone Thugs and Harmony's collective, and he was going to talk about what he saw at the Verses from his vantage point, because there were some things that were unsettled in that, and we're hearing all kind of stories of why the first of the month didn't get played. But he said that he's trying to make it back to the crib or whatnot, and he's going to let us know when he is available, because he wants all of his interactions to be 100%, because he was kind of breaking up wherever he was. Sounded like he was in the mountains or whatnot. But, yes. So you were talking about the fact that Kendrick's stepping in a whole new world, and the level is... But see, the thing is, and I agree with everything you just said about the level now is KD2. The level now is Alfredo, but he's never really had to contend with the level around him. I think the strongest album that he came out around was Life is Good.
Life is Good.
Correct us if we're wrong.
Hold on. So Mike, so think about it. His biggest competition came from an album from Nas that probably isn't even a top 5 Nas album, and that was clearly his best project and first real look at the industry. That was 2012, Mike. It's been a minute. And here is what's different about him and Rakim's situation. That's what I'm saying. No, Rakim had already dropped in heavy years. So when you're coming back and listening to the 18th letter in 1997, Mike, are you putting it on an Illmatic and Ready to Die level in terms of your expectation? Well, yes, you are. No. In terms of like what you want from him.
Oh, what you
it's
want?
Like, yeah, because that's what I'm saying. Because when he came back, specifically Ready to Die and Illmatic was the level. Well, the 18th letter isn't coming close to that level, but here's what he already had. He had records that showed that he was still arguably the greatest MC of all time. And oh, Mike, he had already dropped in heavy years and arguably had the best rap album. So we really couldn't hold him hostage for that because we couldn't come back and say, well, damn, Rakim ain't really never dropped against no heavy competition. Yes, the fuck he did.
TV Art brings up a good one. He said Killer Mike, rap music, 2012. That was 2012. And that was, I think, Killer Mike's breakthrough moment.
That's the 3rd or 4th best rap album this year, though. It's not better than Life is Good or Good Kid, Mad City.
I don't know. I like Life is Good better personally, but you know, if someone thinks their rap music is better. Yo, Brian Larkin says, y'all heard Black Friday. It's levels. That's real. And I've cited Black Friday before too when people talk that J. Cole, Kendrick shit. When Kendrick took that Black Friday track, he took it somewhere else. And yes, the ability and all of that is there. And if we're talking about on paper, and that's what makes him very similar to Eminem in that way. If you listen to both of the, you listen to Eminem rhyme, you listen to Eminem rhyme, but are we taking away songs from here that this person has and we're like, yo, I can't live without this, gin and juice or whatever. You know what I mean?
So if you're talking about that, that's what I'm saying. Most of those tracks, that if you're talking about hip-hop heads, like it's like, no, I need to hear that record, Mike. Almost all those records are on Good Kid, Mad City to me because I think of Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, Money Trees, and Real.
You want to talk about this Big Boy Sleepy Brown album? I know we're like an hour and a half in.
Yeah, I do right quick because you want to know what I thought about?
Mm-hmm.
I've been listening to all these albums and stuff. I just shot you a message last night, and I'm like, yo, we might have underrated Cole's project a little bit. I just had moved Cole up a couple slots, like literally 2 slots, and then Big Boy and Rick Ross dropping. I'm thinking like, damn, I'm moving you back right where I had you.
So you think the Rick Ross is better than the J. Cole?
Don't you?
What were you gonna say about us underrating J. Cole's album? What made you think?
No, it's just a better project than we thought, Mike. Like it is really consistent. He's rapping his ass off on there. The rhymes are there. The beats aren't stellar, but they're solid. It's a really good project. It's a top 10-ish rap album. It's probably getting some burden of proof treatment.
It could be. All right, let's talk about this.
It's gonna be one of those albums. It's like in another year, could it be top 10? Yeah, Rick Ross and Big Boy might have just slid you out of 10-ish.
I have a lot to say about this Big Boy project, man.
I know you do. I want to get into it.
I from Atlanta, Georgia, obviously. Outkast fan to the heart. I got a lot to say about this project, and Big Boy and Sleepy Brown, they've been basically promoting Big Sleepover, their joint project, for I want to say maybe about a year and a half or so. It feels like. So we've been really excited about the possibility of hearing Sleepy Brown and Big Boy come together on a full effort, because we've heard them over the years and how great they sound together. Well, the Big Sleepover, finally dropped, and 15-track album, and it plays really well. I got a lot to say, but I want to get your first reaction on after hearing the Big Sleepover.
I know what you're about to say, but here are just my thoughts, all things considered, because it's like I'm just going to weigh the music first.
Okay.
Just like in terms of, well, what did I hear from when I put it on to when I cut it off?
Right.
What I heard from when I cut it on to when I cut it off is the best album of Big Boy's career. Song for song. It doesn't have any of the highlights maybe that some of the other projects have, but if we're talking end to end, what I heard is his best project. And I know there's some caveats that come with that, I'm going to submit a couple of things to you with those caveats that I know that you're about to mention, though. Because although I agree with everything that I think that you're about to say, I'm going to give you some valid rationale for why that's occurring.
Okay.
Go ahead. Tell me what your critiques are.
All right. Well, all right. First off, I love the album, actually. You know what I'm saying? I think that the biggest thing for me, though, and I got the track list sitting here. I got my notes here, right? I think Big Boy is drastically underrated, but yes. I understand why. Because
I
understand why. I think, you know, as an individual, understand. You know what? Let me start there before I go into the album. Because I feel like growing up here, right, Andre and Big Boy as a collective, Outkast, it was always one of those things where, you know, you had people who were more Big Boy people and you had people who were more Dre people. And it never was one of those things like how they kind of treat Dre like he's Tretch and Big Boy's Vinny. It was never any of that.
Never that. Never that down here.
It was never any of that. And I think that really started with the Speaker Box Love Below separation. And I think there was a big opportunity missed for Big Boy to take on his rap side of the album in the same fashion that Andre took on Love Below. Andre was the writer, producer, arranger, and didn't have any real major features on there. Had Norah Jones on there, which kind of like, you know, went in sync with what he was doing. Same thing with Khalees. She just kind of spoke it apart and had Big Boy on there. I think that Big Boy had way too many features on Speaker Box. I think that he didn't come with the attention to detail that he needed to do on there. And I think that that was the opportunity for him to show people that he was the MC in the group. But the fact that there was so much Killer Mike on there, there was so many features on there, it kind of felt compilation-ish in a way.
So can we stop right there, though?
And no, let me finish this one point. I think that another circumstance is the fact that I would like to hear songs with Big Boy with 3 verses as opposed to 2. And I know it sounds nitpicky-ish and even Unhappy. I love Unhappy on Speaker Box. But those verses are like 8 bars, you know what I mean? Like, I think those are reasons why Big Boy gets slept on as an MC, because it's like he doesn't do enough rapping. And sometimes those features take away from that. But go ahead.
I'm glad you brought up Speaker Box and you're saying the things that you're saying. Because when I go back and listen to Speaker Box in relationship to his other solo projects, because Speaker Box is like essentially his first solo project, will I hear somebody that wasn't ready to do his first solo project? But let me tell you why. His flaky partner in rhyme. Half the tracks on Speaker Box sound like that he was waiting for Dre to come, because what Speaker Box sounds like, half of it, is what was supposed to be Outkast's follow-up to Stankonia, stylistically, beat-wise. And so what I hear is somebody that's waiting for his partner who doesn't come through, and he's left holding the ball, and so he has to scramble. That's where the features come from. That's where the unevenness come from. And specifically when you're speaking even to having him on full verses, well, he wasn't prepared for that either. He had never done that before.
I agree with you, but I also feel as an MC,
because Speaker Box is his worst solo album to me, Mike.
Really? Big Boy was the one that had the solo rap star power. He was the one that was on Slick Rick's song. He was the one that was on All of My Grill. He was the one that was on Love in Your Mouth. Like
he was biding his time, because probably more so than the other member, he realized what they had going on was truly, truly special, iconic, all-time great special. His focus, and he deserves credence for this forever. Oh, he held them down. He was always about Outkast first. That hurt him on the Speaker Box.
I think Speaker Box had good songs on it, similar to this, but I feel like
Mike,
he wasn't able to show the MC that he is, because like I said, I would love if he would have been able to give us 3 verses.
I'm going to tell you when I realized what was going on. You know what my favorite record is on Speaker Box, Mike?
What's that?
Bow Tie.
Is it?
I love Bow Tie.
I like Unhappy, and I like
Unhappy is up there. I love Unhappy.
I like Knowing.
Okay, so Mike, you can go to Unhappy too.
And I like Reset.
Yep, I like all those, Mike. Listen to all those tracks and tell me Dre ain't supposed to be on those records.
I mean, my thing is, man.
No.
We all saw it coming.
Mike. You know what, Mike? You from the you know what Cast sound like?
Oh no, I agree.
Like Bow Tie. If Andre's on Bow Tie, that's a rap classic. He gonna show out on that record. That record for Andre to show out on. That's what I'm saying.
It's interesting you say this.
Some of those records, it almost sounds like he's inviting Andre to rap because he knows his homie doesn't want to rap. So he's like, well, I'm gonna make this record and make it fit for him and leave it here for him, and he's gonna get inspired at some point to come fill his gap. That's what Bow Tie is, Mike. That's what Unhappy is. Like Mike, all 3 of those records you named, that's what they are. They're records that they were for Big Boy made those records. For Dre to get on him, he never got on him.
Listen, I want to piggyback off of that, right? I think what's unfair about Big Boy and him being put in a solo position at that point is the fact that everywhere the Outkast was going, Big Boy was following. Well, they were collectively doing it, but as far as like how they were going far out, going very psychedelic, Big Boy was adjusting. He was adjusting, and then when we get to this point. Now you're not rapping anymore. Now I got to keep this sound when I probably would have been more comfortable doing a solo Benz or a Beamer, 2 Dope Boys sound. You know what I'm saying?
What I'm saying. So a couple things happened with Speaker Box that have dictated his career. I'm gonna tell you that's the first thing that happened. Dre didn't come through. Half those records sound like he's waiting for Dre to rap on them because they're more suited for Dre than they are for him.
The Way You Move dictated his career.
Mike, that's where we're going next, but I want to make a little sidebar reference. The best year of Scottie Pippen's career was the year after Michael Jordan retired. But you want to know what? Scottie had time to prepare for the season. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dre didn't leave Big Boy time to prepare for the season, so we're not seeing his best performance. But what you did see was flashes of his brilliance, which is, Mike, The Way You Move. The Way You Move is literally the reason that you were getting this rap album today. And I'm going to tell you why. You're getting the big sleepover because of The Way You Move, because this is a veteran rap artist who is over 25 years in the game. And now he has his classic Outkast material. He has solid solo material, Mike. But when you're at this stage in the game, you have a tendency sometimes to pull from the well that works. This album is him pulling from the well that worked best for him as a solo artist, starting with The Way You Move. He's had some highlights as a solo artist, none like that. This album is an extension of those records without trying to do those records, and it comes off wonderfully.
And you know what? It's not even just The Way You Move, right? I think Sleepy and Big Boy have had great moments with West Savannah, with So Fresh, So Clean, because honestly, So Fresh, So Clean could go as without, it could go as a song without Dre, right?
No, how about this, Mike? That album gonna be that song gonna be almost just as big without Dre on it.
Yeah,
you just give Big Boy a third verse, it's just as big. Yeah,
definitely. No, yeah. For real. Like
that's one of those. That's one of those
the hook and all
songs,
that's there.
Mike, that's one of those many Outkast songs that we're starting to look back at now, and it's like, man, that's Big Boy record though.
Art of Storytelling feels like that for me. With Sleepy Brown on there, it's like that. Now you better go. Get the hump about you. That could easily be Big Boy's record. With
that's their record to me. That's an Outkast record to me, Mike. But when you start going through their catalog, Mike, you start realizing like how much of their single shit is like Big Boy shit. Like AT Aliens. When I hear AT Aliens now, I'm like, that's Big Boy. When I hear Southern Playalistic now, I'm like, that's Big Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is what I do want to say about the effort and the fact that these guys are legends and they came out in a certain era and they were putting out their most successful, commercially successful music in a certain era. I think my biggest thing with the big sleepover, unfortunately, was like, it was New Music Fridays, but the fact that half of the songs on this project I had already heard.
How many?
All right, let me go through it. Right,
I want you to line that up because when you said I only saw like 4, but you like, nah, it's more than 4, Coop.
No, like, it's more because Lowercase No Cap has been out for a few months, right? I think they put out a video for Animals a couple of weeks ago, so I'm not gonna count that, but I did hear that. Can't Sleep has been out for a while.
It's dope.
It's dope. Intentions, they shot a video for that last year. They performed that on Jimmy Fallon. I love it too. I just wish I was hearing all of these songs for the first time today. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Mike, this is what I mean about where he is in the game, because I knew you were going to say that. So, but before you go any further, I just want to say this. It's like, no, Mike, he's a smart dude. You want to know what he heard over the process of recording these sessions? He probably started thinking to himself, man, if I take what I just made and I take some of the tracks from the past 18 months, I think this might be the best shit that I ever made. And he
took his time with it. Yeah.
He took his time. We can't knock somebody. Like, I get what you're saying.
I knocked him for not taking his time on Speaker Box. I've done that before.
That's what I'm saying, Mike. It's like he got left holding the bag on Speaker Box, and now I'm looking at something that it's like, have I heard a lot of these records? Yeah. That means he took his time. I think him taking his time is working well for him, and so I don't care about it as much, and maybe it's the fan in me, but it's like I'm going to dock him objectively in the album of the year conversation, because some of these records aren't even from this year technically, or at the top of this year, super early. So got to dock him for that. Like, a lot of these are from this year. Mike, but like I said, Mike, when I'm listening to this project from end to end, I'm like, this is Big Boy's best project from end to end. And I think he was hearing that too, which is why he was like, hold on, I think I might be making my best project from end to end. Let me sprinkle some of this hot shit that I already done did in. And it flows and went together and went with the theme. I'm not going to knock a legend for doing that. I'm going to knock somebody 2-3 years in the game for doing that.
Well, this is the thing. Like the We the Ones, the song with Killer Mike, Big Rude. That song's been around for a while.
It has. It's just still dope though, Mike.
Return of the Dope Boy. That he released that like right before, the Super Bowl that was in Atlanta. It was New England. Still dope. It was New England and who was in that Super Bowl? New England and the Rams, LA Rams. Yeah. And Doing It came out that same time too. I think these are really dope songs, but it's like, again, when you release an album, I want to hear new songs. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I told you offline. That's like if I, when we got Akumanat, first day, open up the rapper and then put the CD in there, and it's like 6 songs on there that we've heard for over a year's time. And I get it. I think that they come from a certain school of releasing music, and I see what you're saying too, kind of put things out for feedback, but I would much rather they'd done it in a way where I couldn't access these things on streaming platforms. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I've been listening to these songs for a minute.
But hold on, Mike. First of all, when you're saying that too, like, A, you're not average, and 2, you're from the A. So you're going to, Mike, when Big Boy drop a record, we listening. We from Atlanta. We were raised on Outkast. So the effect that we're feeling right now from having heard some of these records, that's not going to resonate with everybody. So we got to pull ourselves back and look at it like we're not from Atlanta. We're not big, heavy Outkast fans. And we're not the type of people who don't check Big Boy's projects every single time it comes out. We are those guys. That makes us more of an outlier than the norm. For somebody just picking up this album that loves Outkast or loves Big Boy but doesn't follow him intuitively or heavily like we do, they're going to hear the best album of his career.
Well, this is the other thing, and that was just my first note. I love the moments where Big Boy and Sleepy Brown are like on a same page. Again, like, I think best example of that, West Savannah. They did that on this album a few times. I think some certain songs, they feel a little bit separate, like Sucker Free. You know what I'm saying? That's on some rap shit, whereas like all you see is like, more on some sleepy shit. But I wish that we could have gotten more of that. Like Animals. I think Animals is dope. I think Can't Sleep is dope. And I would have loved if the whole album was on some Can't Sleep Animals type shit.
Mike, Can't Sleep is the best song on this album. Oh, they need to. How about this, Mike? You want to hear some fresh shit? Let's go ahead and put it out now because we know Big Boy follows us. And shout out to Big Boy for following us. We appreciate the love. Definitely. Oh, do this shit again with Sleepy and make everything like Can't Sleep.
That's what I'm saying. Like the moments where it's like they are together in that way, they're untouchable. It's like, why go away from that? You know what I'm saying? And that was the beauty of Outkast. Outkast never really went away from their chemistry because Big Boy and Sleepy Brown clearly have chemistry. They've had it since Southern Playlistic. You know what I'm saying? And
Mike, you're not giving Big Boy enough credit because here's what we're about to talk about. Oh, well, Big Boy got chemistry with Andre. Mm-hmm. He got chemistry with Sleepy Brown. He got chemistry with Killer Mike.
Yeah.
That's a mark of a great MC.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've always said he's kind of the ghost face of the Dungeon family, or the Raekwon. I would say Ray.
He'd be the Ray.
Yeah, he's the glue. You know what I'm saying?
Mike, when you hear
he has chemistry with CeeLo.
Mike, when you're hearing Skewing on the Bar, who talking? Big Boy and Ray. Mike, when they doing promo now, guess who be linking together? Big Boy and Ray. Yeah, he the Ray of the Dungeon family.
Well, I mean, Mike, he linked that whole Raekwon thing. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Right. But I mean, you and I know this from just like some semi-personal relationships. We know Ray moved his family down here. Mm-hmm. Big Boy obviously was hip to it too, so there's obviously some connection. Ray been coming down here forever. Ray been coming down here since we was kids.
I will say this, man, and I get it. They have a whole different process in creating music. And so I think when you just look at it from a track list standpoint, I know when the track list came out yesterday, I was like, okay, a lot of these songs I've heard, but I understand they're not the kind of act that'll go in there and knock out 5 songs in a day.
So can I tell you something, though? Because you called me this morning. You called me this morning earlier than you normally call me. And you told me, you were like, I don't like that I've heard these records. And I was like, nah. I'm like, let's see, though. I'm like, let's listen to the music. Because I understood something, and I think you understood it, too. It's like, well, Big Boy's smart. It's like he was doing that for a reason. That's why when I heard this album, I'm like, oh, well, this is the best shit he ever made. That's why he did it that way. Because, Mike, I'm pulling up his other albums right now. Sir Lucius Left Foot, the son of Chico Dusty.
They want us to talk about that. That's what people are talking about in the chat.
Hold on. Listen. Vicious Lies and Dangerous Rumors. Big Grams, Booniverse. Mike, the last 3 aren't even in the conversation with this album, in my opinion. You got to go to the first one, which is Sir Lucius Left Foot, the son of Chico Dusty.
I listen to that album a lot.
And that album is dope. I don't think it's as dope as this end to end. Not end to end.
No, I agree with you. Again, when Doing It came out.
I'm not about to knock Big Boy when he's hearing himself making the best solo album in his career. That's what he heard. He's like, hold on, this might be the best solo album of my career if I put this together right. That's important, Mike, because that gives him some credence. Because what he has now is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 solo albums. And he can actually says he has an end-to-end dope-ass player to say with that, you know, like... How many people who are considered to be Scottie Pippen in the crew can say, man, I got an end-to-end player?
Did you think this album is better than the Rick Ross album? I kind of think it is. I mean, if we take out all the other stuff, everything's brand new. I found myself more entertained by the Big Boy album, and I wasn't just sure because I'm partial to Big Boy and Outkast, and I'm thinking to myself, well, these are 2 guys I'm partial to. I'm partial to Ross and I'm partial to Big Boy. Right. I enjoyed the Big Boy a little more, Mike, but I was raised on the east side of Atlanta. Like, Ain't No Thing. I still listen to Ain't No Thing, Mike. Like, I'm an Outkast baby. I still listen to Ain't No Thing, like regularly. Like, I got to get in the car in Atlanta and ride around the city to Ain't No Thing. Like, you know what I mean? So this shit hit different. Damn. Yeah.
Right. So it's like when I'm enjoying Big Boy more than I'm enjoying Ross, I don't even know how biased I'm being. I'm like, nigga, I still play Ain't No Thing off Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music. When I put the sunroof back on 285, I'm that nigga. So it's like...
Look, the production was there too. You know,
I'm gonna rate them I'm gonna rate the albums the same because I don't hear any separation. Even though I may have enjoyed Big Boy's albums more, I hear a 4.25 on both.
Well, the thing is, I hear some singles on Big Boy's, and I hear some on Rick, right? But they're in a different way.
In a different way.
And I think song structure.
Rick has been such a bigger single artist than Big Boy too. That's what I'm saying. Well, the Big Boy singles sound bigger, but it's like, well, Ross ain't making fucking Amsterdam and fucking BMF again, though.
Doing
the same way
really
Nas ain't making The World Is Yours and Jay-Z ain't making Dead Presidents.
No, that's real. Doing It's a good song. Let me go through the track list real quick.
No, doing it is dope. That's what I mean. Like every song on here is solid.
Yeah, and I like the chemistry that Big Boy and Backbone have together too.
He's got chemistry with everybody, Mike. He sounds good.
He's a versatile MC, man. I think that's one of the things that's very underrated about Big Boy is the fact that, I mean, once you are able to have chemistry with an artist like an Andre 3000 who's going in all these different directions, everything else is a breeze.
You're trained for anything, Mike. That's what I'm saying. He sounds great with everybody. You're like, he keep doing tracks with Killer Mike. You want to know what Killer Mike still sounds like the guest appearance artist, this Big Boy's album.
That's true. And that's something that's very important. I do think that, he collaborates with Killer Mike more than he should. That's just my opinion. And I love Killer, but it is what it is. They got a relationship and they make music together. I mean, I get it. When it's your homie, and y'all just putting stuff together.
I mean, right, too. And also, too, this is what I mean, how Big Boy has a mind for stuff and an ear for stuff. It's like, if he heard the beat for Kill Jill before Killer Mike did, wise move to call Killer Mike. That song's a classic, and it's like, no, that's perfect. That beat was perfect for Killer Mike to jump in with Big Boy. It's perfect for both of them. He shared the mic with Mike. He got Jeezy on the hook. He took that last verse and showed his ass. It's a classic rap record, Mike. Kill Jill's his best rap song to me. If we're talking from Big Boy's catalog, Kill Jill's his best record.
This is my critique for Big Boy, and I think I said this when we were talking about Speaker Box. I just wish I could hear Big Boy rhyme more, and I feel like, let me go to this track list. I feel like Lowercase, No Cap, we didn't need Killer Mike on there. Let me get another Big Boy verse. You know what I'm saying? I feel like even the song with Return of the Dope Boy, we didn't need Killer Mike on there. I like the back and forth with Backbone and Big Boy.
I didn't. How about this? I'm with you on that. We didn't need Killer Mike on that record.
Yeah. No. And it's like, I wish that, we could just get Big Boy's rhyming sometimes, and we don't need that feature, but I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, Killer Mike's dope, and you want him on a record, but I think the only two records that I say, okay, we keep Killer Mike on is We the Ones and Indefinitely Sucker Free.
I like Mike on all the records except for Dope Boys. They could have done without him on that one.
Yeah. I love what Big Boy and Backbone had going on.
No, I love it. That's the highlight of the record to me. That's why I was like, no, you can go ahead and slide Mike out of there and I'm just as cool, but it doesn't take away that this is the best project of his career. So a beautiful thing is starting to happen with rap. These guys that we grew up on are starting to make music that our kids can listen to that's great, so that our kids can actually see why we love them so much. That's what's beautiful about KD too. That's what's beautiful about what Big Boy just did. Ross is 11 albums in, still making quality work. The game is changing. So what I'm saying is that, like, we need to slide Kendrick out if we sliding him out, not about what he hasn't done in 5 years, but what the game is doing. Because the game is extending itself. Because I thought about something the other day. I'm going to talk about KD again, too. Because, LeBron's not too far from the scoring record, right?
Right.
And I'm thinking about how LeBron looks at 37 and how his body is starting to fail him a little bit. I'm thinking to myself, KD is 4 years younger, and his game and his way of getting points is so much easier, and he's creeping up on 25,000. Like, he's 33 years old. I actually had a whole thought. It's like, no, I could see him scoring 25 points a game for another 5 to 7 years if he stays healthy. His game is like built like that. It's changing. Scores of the basketball, you usually got about 10 years to get it, and then it's gone. Look at James Harden right now. That's not all about being out of shape, Mike, or the hamstring and stuff. It's like, no, you got a cap on it.
Yeah.
But the extremely great guys are starting to change the cap. Guys like Big Boy making an album like this, that changes the cap. Nas making KD 2, that changes the cap.
Tabernet says, is Big Boy disrespected in the rap community?
Not disrespected, just not valued like he should be. Specifically in Atlanta, by Atlanta radio, they're fucking trifling when it comes to Big Boy, because there is no hip-hop Atlanta radio without Outkast. And every other place that I've lived or been, when somebody is important to the music station and to the hip-hop and music community like that, they get flowers every time that their shit drops. And he does not get that in Atlanta. it's an atrocity because I've seen Mike, I told you it's never gonna escape my mind like when it's Eazy-E's birthday and I was in Cali and they played Easy all day.
Well, that's what they do. That's what they do. Raven 210 says, "What up, Mike and Coop? Glad I caught the live. I enjoy the content. 2020 yearbook makes for a great stocking stuffer." Appreciate that, Raven 210. Yes, the 2020 yearbook that we put together last year that's available on Amazon right now makes a great stocking stuffer for the hip hop fans. So go on Amazon, look up According to Hip Hop 2020 yearbook, and go ahead and put that in a stocking stuffer, a hip hop fans stocking stuffer rather. I can't even talk.
Mike,
we're working on the 2021 one now too. I think we need to make like some sort of package where people can get the 2020 and the 2021 one. We'll work it out.
Yeah, no, I've actually the last 2 days specifically been working on the yearbook in my spare time. Mike, do you remember when ATLiens came out and they played ATLiens from beginning to end?
Yeah, that was Greg Street, man. He would do that with Outkast and Goody Mob.
Mike, yeah, I was living in Charlotte at the time, but I told you I still came down here during the summers. I remember when they played ATLiens from beginning to end live, Greg Street. Mike, Big Boy deserves that treatment every time he comes out. Like, what you missing? Like,
does New York still do that for Nas when Nas drops KD too? Do they do that for him? Like, I think that the industry changed.
See, this is what I'm no. This is what I'm saying, Mike.
It's different.
And this is why it's different. You talking about when Nas dropped KD 2? It's like, I guess you got to do that when Rakim dropped, when KRS-One dropped, when Kane dropped, when G-Rap dropped, when Jay dropped. When Kiss dropped, Mike, you want me to keep
Chuck D has that problem with Hot 97.
When 50 dropped, Mike, when Chuck D dropped, if Chuck D were to drop something, there's so many guys you can run down. But down here in Atlantis, Mike, ain't nothing but a couple people we can choose from because there wasn't nothing but a couple guys that got this shit cracking. I believe that's the guy. I believe that's the core glue guy we keep talking about. Why are we not supporting our glue guy?
Daryl Baxter says, "I couldn't get past Havoc's voice on Wreckage Manor."
The voice, the voice has changed. He's older. That's not like the voice is raspy and gritty when you're 20, 25. It's gravelly and heavy and a little more distorted when you're 45. Yeah.
Well, I got to give Styles P, Sheik Luch, and Jadakiss credit once again because these guys sound the same.
So do Nas and Jay.
Yeah.
The God voice stayed pristine like I'm still 17.
Nas's voice has changed slightly, but not in a way where it's like, it's not extreme.
It's not as airy and piercing as it has been. But this, Mike, that's why I was telling you, it's like King's Disease 2. He's on his big shit. Like his voice is a little heavier. He's on his big shit.
Yeah.
What
do you think about Method Man and his ability to stay, I guess, somewhat similar to the voice that we remember?
The voice is identical. Vocally, he's like the guy you hear on Lemon on From a King to a God is the guy that you hear on Ice Cream.
Yeah. It seems to be people who keep themselves at a certain level of conditioning that, have this going on because
I didn't want to speak on it too much. Well, no, Mike, since we're talking about it, it's like, if you're really a fan and you know the story, Havoc has had issues with drinking. Those are things that'll affect your voice over the course of time. Like Mike, you can stop smoking today and get cancer 10 years from now because of what you did before. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, he probably don't hit the bottle no more. He's even spoken on the rhymes about how he don't hit the bottle no more. That don't change the damage, Mike. He pretty much, Mike, I remember an interview he did. He told me, he's like, he was pretty much going to the studio like 6, 7 in the morning making Hell on Earth bent.
Damn.
6, 7, 8 in the morning making beats to Hell on Earth bent. So he had a drinking problem for a while. Like what you do catches up to you, Mike. Mike, part of my I'm physically in a different place at 40 because of the things that I've chosen to do to myself. So it's like I don't got a 40-year-old's body. I got to sit my ass down more and do some more repair. That's why the podcast is important to me. I got to sit my ass down in a chair. Yeah.
Midget Mike says Snoop sounds the same for years. Yeah, his voice hasn't really.
No, Mike.
I think once Snoop turned that
genetics
corner,
too. Like some of that is genetics. Remember when we were talking about it's like sometimes it's not about who raised you, it's about who made you. Some of that is genetics.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if I'm not mistaken, Nas's pops was still doing shows and like playing the trumpet at like 60 something.
Donnell Baxter says
That mean they got wind in their lungs, Mike. That's
no.
hereditary. They got wind in their lungs. His pops is doing shows at 60 playing the horn. Like, no, they got wind.
Donnell Baxter says Ghost's voice has changed a lot too. Yeah, and he said that worries me about Supreme Clientele too.
Okay, so
the sequels do feel like that because I know that Muddy Waters is celebrating its 25th anniversary today. Incredible album. I love Muddy Waters. I can listen to it from beginning to end. But it does worry me when they talk about Muddy Waters too. It's like, because just like Ghost, Redman was in a zone on Muddy Waters. My God. It's the Funk Dr. Spock, the Punk Cock Lyricist. My mentality's so deaf, yo, I ain't even hearing this shit. Biscuits, because like everything, like he was on. There's 3 albums where I talk about niggas being in a zone. It's Supreme Clientele, Muddy Waters, and ELE for Busta Rhymes. I don't like when they do sequels of that because it's like the voice. It's not going to be the same.
I don't think Busta is at Ghost or Redman level on ELE like they are.
He is the best him that you're going to get.
Right. Mike, how about this? If we're talking about zone, specifically those 2 albums, I don't know if any rapper has zoned into their zone the way those 2 guys zoned into their zone on that album. Like the way Redman is on Muddy Waters, that's Redman at his zenith on his shit. And it's hard. Mike, it's hard to fuck with him.
Yeah, I don't even like sequels like that. And so like when I hear about Supreme Clientele 2, I agree with you, Daryl Baxter. That worries me too. Like, Mike, and Ghost just killed that Russ album. He killed the
Supreme
verse.
Clientele or Muddy Waters? What's the better Mike performance?
I'm gonna say Supreme Clientele, but it's not by a lot, man. Because this nigga Ghost was rapping crazy.
Mike, I'm gonna surprise you. I don't agree. I actually think it's Redman on
I'm
Muddy
not
Waters.
Mad at that.
I think it's one of the best lyrical performances on the mic ever.
It is. Ever. No, I agree with you.
Like, you can rap. Can you rap like that for an album? Because there ain't too many guys I've ever seen rap like that for an album.
No, real shit. Like real from beginning to end.
From beginning to end, he is rapping his ass off. He's in a special place. Like, how about this, Mike? When I say that it's like, like 88 Rakim, 97 Big, 94 Nas, it's like, no, 96 Redman's in the next tier.
Yeah.
No.
It's crazy. No.
Yeah,
96 Redman, I remember when he would like jump on remixes and shit. I couldn't wait to hear him. Like when he jumped on that Crisscross Tonight's the Night remix, it's like
smashed it.
No, he was killing, man. And yeah, Muddy Waters is special. Supreme Clientele is special. So when those guys talk about doing sequels this far down the line and with the vocal changes that happen, because Ghost sounds different too. Not to say, these guys are not the MCs they once were, but I just rather it be a whole different chamber, man.
You just can't expect a 45-year-old to sound like a 20-year-old.
You can't, but that's why we don't need the sequels. And let's just call an album something else. I get it though, and again, I went through that with the ELE2 last year. It's like I know it's not going to be, what I remember.
Like vocally, because here's the thing. Like, how about this? Deep Thought. Vocally, he had to do something like Deep Thought because his voice is different, and he had to learn how to do different things with his voice. He's not doing that on ELE because he doesn't have to because his voice is different on ELE.
What rapper you think sounds the best at their older age and, even better than they did earlier? Because I'm going with Black Thought, honestly.
Yes, Mike, Black Thought and Kiss. If you go listen to early Black Thought and Kiss, it's not as full-rounded in the form. That's why I tell people, it's like, no, Black Thought is on Organics, and Do You Want More? That's not the Black Thought we know. The Black Thought we know pops up on Illadelph Half-Life.
I think Black Thought actually sounds better now.
No.
The albums back then were better, but as an MC on the mic, he sounds better now. The song crafting
was better. No, the song crafting by him was better. Like that Illadelph Half-Life, Things Fall Apart, Phrenology Run. The songwriting is better. But Mike, the MC. The MC better. And the MC was already top 5. Ish.
So Skill
I mean,
wise.
Mike, in 1996, Mike, the best 5 MCs for me were Nas, Jay, Redman, Lauryn Hill, and Black Thought. Andre in there somewhere too. That was like, I was like, those were the 6 people that in '96 I remember being like, no, those are the best.
You know, it's like I think Redman's MC of the year for '96, in my opinion.
Over Jay and Reasonable Doubt.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Mike. To me, how about this, Mike?
Yes.
It was written as still the most lyrical album of 1996, but the best lyrical performance of 1996 isn't on It Was Written on Reasonable Doubt. It's on Muddy Waters.
Redman was going crazy on there, man.
What does that say about him? High level.
You know, and you know, Muddy Waters is always the reason that I've had Redman over Method Man, even though Method Man was my favorite.
Mike, it's the difference between being 10 to 12 to me. But here's what else I said. I just had a thought. Kendrick doesn't have a Muddy Waters that we wax about lyrically. That's the side he falls on. He falls on the Redman's a lyricist. That's what I'm talking about. We don't wax. Like, listen to how long we're just sitting up here talking about Muddy Waters. Like, yeah, that motherfucker on Muddy Waters. Where's the Kendrick project where we talk about him that way? That's what I'm talking about with him, where if you want to say something, let's say that, because as a lyricist is where he earned his chops. Where's the Illmatic performance? Where's the Muddy Waters?
Jermaine Young says Prodigy was killing it in '96 as well. Yes, he was.
You know how I feel about P, Mike.
Yeah, I know.
I think we gotta.
What would you say? I mean, I know how you feel about P. Is Prodigy
break this Prodigy shit down for you?
Yeah, go for it. But I was gonna say you got Kendrick ahead of Prodigy. If so, why?
Okay, how about this, Mike? Like,
Brian sent a super chat. I appreciate the super chat, Brian. I want to shout that out. Who is in your opinion, who's the best 5 rappers today over 40? We can get into that.
Yeah, Mike. Prodigy's prime, and I consider his prime to be the infamous Hell on Earth and Murder Music, is top 10 MC shit. It's just not long enough. Okay. But it's there. And Mike, that's what I said. It's like, no, when you go listen to his shit, until Conway came along and made From a King to a God, he's the best ever at that grimy talk. He is the grimy talk to me.
Man says Bandana P over Kendrick.
Mike, I'm putting on Mobb Deep. I'm playing P. Mike, I don't play Kendrick like that, Mike. You know how I feel about Mobb Deep. I was talking to the dude who started the group that I added to, Kendron. I hit Ken up with Feel My Gap Blow. Feel My Gap Blow was the original track 3 off Murder Music before they got bootleg and had to redid it. I'm like, you ain't heard Feel My Gap Blow? I was like, oh, nigga, go hear Feel My Gap Blow. Like, I love P. You know what I'm saying?
Darnell Baxter says Prodigy couldn't put together a classic solo album.
That's what I'm saying. You got to start weighing things evenly. Like, his
so
run with Mobb Deep is top 10.
Listen. If we're going to say that, if we're going to say that, why do people put Andre 3000 in a top anything when he doesn't even have a solo song? And we can't knock Prodigy for not being able to match what he did in the group of Mobb Deep to that level. But I get it if we're comparing it to Kendrick.
So, Mike, can I tell you something? The number one reason that when we did our mock verses that I was comfortable with picking Mobb Deep is because I knew in Prodigy I had somebody who could offset Andre's classic verses. That's how dope P is. I'm like, oh, no. Go play some of your best Andre shit. I got a guy that actually got some shit that can compete. He's like that. Like I said, his prime shit is top 10 shit, so he can fuck with Dre. Yeah. That's what I'm saying, Mike. You wanna play Dre's best verse? It's like, okay, but not certain if it's better than P's best verse.
Is Andre better than Prodigy in 1996?
Ooh, fair discussion.
Because we're talking about, like, if we were to sit here and say,
how about
1996? No, let's just say, according to hip hop, it's around 1996, right? We're doing Lyricist of the Year, 1996. Who are going to be our 4? Well, let's just do 5. It's a real stacked year. Who are going to be our 5 nominees for Lyricist of the Year in 1996?
Ooh, if I'm going to tell you something that's probably going to fuck you up. we're going to pick 5 people, but because people don't know how great he is yet, and because of the misogyny on the album, Jay's not going to make that list. So if we're actually,
no.
If we're actually picking fresh in
it's
96,
1996, no, not 98. So yeah,
it's 96, not 98, Mike. Let me tell you who we're picking as MC of the year based on what we've already known and what we're seeing. We're going with Prodigy, Nas, Redman, Andre, and Lauren, probably. Black Thought.
Hold on. Prodigy, Nas,
Redman, Andre, and Lauren. People forget how big the score was.
No. Lauren's definitely on there. No.
Right.
I think Andre's not on there. In 96.
Here's what I'm saying.
I'm putting Ghost on there before I'm putting Andre on there.
No,
Iron Man?
Sir,
Iron Man?
No, because here's what I'm saying. You got to look at it from the perspective of like, well, Ghost wasn't like that in 96. You yourself have said, who's the best rapper on Iron Man, Ray or Ghost?
It's Ray.
Okay,
but I think on if I'm counting lyrical performance year,
hold on, Mike. Are we talking? I've heard the album already. Like, are we talking? It's the end of the year. I'm playing the albums lyrically.
I put Tupac in there before I put Andre.
No. What I'm saying is are we basing on what we're hearing? Like, is it the end of the year?
It's the end of the year. Let's just say it's December 1996, December 10th, 1996. Everything that we've heard throughout the year, we got to pick 5 nominees for Lyricist of the Year.
Nas, Lauren, and Tupac are making the list.
Yeah, I'm taking Dre out of that.
Nas, Lauren, and Tupac are making the list. Redman is probably making the list too.
Yeah. Redman's definitely making the list.
So it's about that 5th spot. So that 5th slot is Andre, Black Thought, Jay-Z, correct?
Yeah, or Prodigy.
And Prodigy. So here's what I'll tell you, Mike. Prodigy got more weight than all of those guys do in 96 because he made Survival of the Fittest and Shook Ones go ahead and put him in. When 96 is going down, if you've heard him on Hell on Earth and Nighttime Vultures and Apostles Warning, and then you're listening, is that the dude that was on Give Up the Goods and Survival of the Fittest and Shook Ones? Yeah, you probably sliding P in.
Yeah.
Over J and over 3 Stacks. This is 96.
Mike, I'm not more, and I love ATLians. But if we're talking about as a straight up lyricist or whatever, I think Jay-Z outperformed Andre on Reasonable Doubt than, ATLians.
Andre's performance in 96 is more important to this region and culture than what it did for the craft of MCing than maybe the performance as a whole. Because how about this?
That was the Lynette said that Lauren over Foxy, Il Nana dropped in 96. Yeah, I mean, Yeah.
Mike, how many Mikes was probably arguably the best verse of the year?
Well, it was arguably the best verse of the year. But it's definitely the best verse on that album. I mean, I love Fuji.
No. How many Mikes is one of the 5 best verses that year? Foxy don't have a verse like that. And I love
Fuji La was crazy too, man. Lauren's sick.
Lauren's
performance on the score is one of the best performances in a group on a rap album ever.
Mike, she got on a balance beam and she stuck the landing every time she jumped off.
It was crazy.
She stuck the landing every time.
That jump from Blending on Reality to the score, in my opinion, makes the score the best sophomore effort in hip-hop history. I'm sorry.
Mike, what I was actually about to say is Mike, her jump as an MC from Blended Reality to the score is one of the greatest MC jumps we never talk about.
Because we talk about...
she's all-time great on the score. I
think some of the best sophomore albums in hip-hop are Life After Death, It Takes a Nation and Millions to Hold Us Back. I think Supreme Clientele's on that list. Yeah. Obviously, the score is on that list. I think ATLians is on that list.
The Infamous.
Yeah. The Infamous is a big jump, too. I think the Infamous and the score are the biggest jumps if we want to talk about sophomore efforts. But I feel like the Infamous is such a jump because they were so young, and a lot of people treat the Infamous like it's actually their debut.
Mike, that's why the Infamous is a bigger jump. Right, Mike. That's why the Infamous, like for me, the Infamous is probably the biggest jump in rap history because never has a rap album been so much greater than its predecessor that niggas sit out here and label it their debut album.
But see, I would give the score those props because I feel like the Infamous and trap music are damn near like a whole different artist. While the Fugees were the same group. The Fugees were the same group. They just made a big jump. Resurrection's there too. Shout out to Terminator 2. Terminator 2 made it in late.
Yeah. Mike, how about this? When I'm saying that, I'm saying the Infamous is better than the score. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. I think the score is very incredible. I'm a huge.
No, it's incredible, Mike. Show me Survival of the Fittest, Give Up the Goods, and Shook Ones Part 2. I just named 3 records. I got more records.
I mean, you got Fuji La. You got Ready or Not. You got Killing Me Softly. These were big.
No, Mike.
Big
those 3 records that you named, Mike, they aren't better than the 3 records in my name. Like, if you match those records up, Mike, you want to put Fuji La against Give Up the Goods?
Fuji La against Give Up the Goods. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, but you're not winning.
I'm sorry, man. Fuji La.
Like, Mike, that's what I'm saying about Mike. That's what I keep saying about Prodigy and about Mobb Deep and that rap shit. It's like, no. Come bring your best shit. You're not gonna win.
So you think that Prodigy's a better lyricist than Lauren?
Ooh, I think she's a better tactician on the mic in 96, Mike. But this is what I keep telling you about P. He's chilling. He makes you feel something very guys make you feel. Like his verse on Nighttime Vultures. Oh, I'll take that verse almost over any verse on 96 that's not on I Gave You Power. It's like that. He's like that. Like he different. He different when he hitting you. He not hitting you with that lyrical technical stuff. He hitting you with some lyrical street shit. Mike, I rose early morning, spread my wings yawning. Vague memories of last night, now it's all dawning. Looked down and seen dry blood all on my garments. It stained up my guest farmers, colored enormous. I hopped up hot on my bed, holding my head. He doing lyricist shit with the street records. Mike, it's hard to beat.
It is.
You can't beat him. That's why you can't beat Shook Ones. That's why you can't beat Survival of the Fittest. That's why you can't beat Eye for an Eye. That's why you can't beat Give Up the Goods, because he's lyrical. He's on that street shit. It's what hip hop is embedded in. So his best shit is top 10 type of shit. Her best shit is like lyrically like on some Nas and Rakim type of level, but it don't resonate. She don't got a verse that resonates like Shook Ones or Give Up the Goods or Survival of the Fittest. She don't. She got verses better. Name the shit that hits you like that. Play her best verse against Shook Ones Part 2 and watch her lose.
Ooh. Are you talking about in 96 or we just talking about in general?
Pick her best verse. Go play the first, the Shook Ones. Watch her lose, Mike. Almost everybody's losing. I got you stuck off the realness. We be the infamous. You heard of us. Official Queensbridge murderers.
I think I'm going to go play that as soon as we get off, man.
Beware of my crime family who got more shots to share for all those who want to profile and pose. Rock you in your face, stab your brain with your nose bow. You all alone in these streets, cousin. Every man for themself in this land we be gunning and keep the Shook crews running like they supposed. No, Mike, she don't want that smoke. Don't nobody want that smoke, Mike.
I can see it inside your face.
You in the wrong place. Cowards like you just get your whole body laced up.
Well, bullet holes and such. And say the wrong words, man. You will get touched. You can put your whole army against my team,
and I guarantee you to be your very last time breathe. Niggas don't talk like that.
M. Lynette brought up a good verse. Bun B's verse on Murder was 96.
Ooh, that's
great.
Hey,
yo, it's Bun B, bitch, and I'm the king of moving chickens, not the finger licking. Sticking niggas who be sticking, you need a swift kicking. Yo, ass is right for that picking, now it's my pocket sticking. Yo, he killed that shit. I love MC's verse on there, too.
You want to know what? I can remember my brother rapping that verse in the back of his car while we had came from Buckhead one night. He's like, you want to hear some rap shit, bro? He's like, that nigga Bun B on this rap shit, bro.
Yo, man, this show just went in a whole nother direction, man. I don't think we're going to be able to get Kane on, man. I know he's having some technical difficulties. We might have to reschedule that, but
yeah. We'll hit him up on Monday. I mean, we really just been riffing because we've been waiting for him, but if it's not hopping, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I know we like two hours and some odd minutes in, but we got like 75 people in here, so you know we just kicking it with y'all. I think Lyricist of the Year for 96 might not even be Nas, man. It might be Redman.
No, Mike, he'd be the only person I feel comfortable giving it to you because I tell you what happened was it was written is that the lyrics that Nas put down on it was written got appreciated more when time went by. Like, oh, I can't find Silent Murder. Be like, man, he was crazy on Silent Murder. When Taken in Blood came out, it's like, oh, I don't like that beat, but you hear him rap over that beat enough. It's like, did you hear him on Taken in Blood? Yeah. So it was one of those things, and this is what I mean about how Redman was in a zone. Oh, he picked the beats and he picked the vibe that fit him the way Nas didn't. Is Nas a better lyricist than Redman in 1996? Yes. Did he do what Redman did? No. That's why beat selection matters, Mike.
Terminator 2 said, "Don't go, Mike D. I just pulled up."
What up, Terminator? What up, fam?
Yeah,
Terminator,
we had no Eminem discussions. I know when we were.
We had a brief Eminem Kendrick rant. Actually, we did. He made it into the show. And Terminator, you'll be happy to know I actually bought Eminem up into the show. It wasn't some shady shit Mike was saying as usual.
I actually kind of gave Eminem some props in this episode. I saw Terminator in the comment section of some of those other pieces, and he was like, "How did I miss this show?" Listen, man.
It's too late. Yeah. Hey, Terminator, I'm going to keep on telling people, we don't belong to anybody. We go live when we feel like it. we don't have no team. We the team. So it's like when we say so.
Click the bell icon on YouTube. They should notify you.
Subscribe to the page.
Yeah, just tell everybody to subscribe to According to Hip Hop on YouTube. And yeah, man, I think we might end up going on Monday so we can get Kane in here. Talk about his experience with the verses. I know that the DJ that was DJing, for Bone Thugs and Harmony that day, Position, he wanted to talk to us as well. So maybe we could just kind of make a day of that, because he has some things to say about the fact that, first of the month wasn't played, and for whatever reason he's being blamed for it. So we want to just let people talk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's clear the air out because it's a lot of smoke. I want to say I hope we actually get to do it Monday at the top of the year, or sometime at the top of the year. Mike and I, in Terminator, since people are watching and asking, it's like at the top of the year we're going to start doing a podcast on Monday. Our podcast days are Wednesday and Friday. Me and Mike really do be pulling up as our personal schedules permit, so we don't have any set solidified times. We kind of move with what the culture says we need to move with. But Wednesday, Friday is certain. We're about to lock Monday in. I want to thank everybody for supporting us. I'm about to take a leave of absence for my job, Mike, and just get more into According to Hip Hop. I actually made that decision the day before we went on. Taking a leave of absence for my job. Taking a leave of absence. We're going to call HR, send them a nice little message. The message says leave of absence. It doesn't say fuck your team. It just says Ghostface Killer. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And but a lot of that is about our growth and development, which goes back to the support and the love that we've been getting. And I just feel pulled at this point in my life in this direction to be about this culture and this community. We've created something, and the people have gravitated to it. And so I just want to thank the people for helping make my dreams come true, which is me not necessarily have to punch a clock, because I'm about to be done punching a clock real soon and kind of be.
You're great at what you do, man. You're one of the best hip hop journalists out here, and I love having conversations with you about current and past hip hop, man. And I'm glad that other people are able to join in these conversations and engage, and we can engage with them. And I'm just excited about this continuously growing and being more than it already is.
Hey, Mike, can I tell you something? You told me offline a few weeks ago, you're like, Coop, you're the best hip hop journalist out here. And you don't even know this. I'm going to go ahead and say this now. That's when I started thinking about taking a leave of absence for my job, because I started thinking to myself, if my G think that way about me, what can I do if I'm really free in 2022? And so I don't know if I'm the best hip hop journalist out there, Mike, but I know in 2022 people should be worried, because I'm about to be focused in and locked in. So I'm about to be. I don't know if I am yet, because I'm not dedicated to it full time, but I'm about to be, and I'm about to be a whole problem.
Oh, no, so I mean that, man. You really break down the game, new efforts, past efforts, and you see it in the comment section, and people who are chiming in our chats, they love your viewpoints on the game and how you explain it. I give a lot of opinions, and a lot of my shit is, outlandish sometimes, but it's rooted.
And people think that's intentional, but that's really who you are. People think we playing some sort of good cop, bad cop game. I'm like, no, I know that nigga Mike since he was 18 years old. He always been saying shit like this.
I mean, again, and even with this big boy effort, I liked it. but I just wish that I hadn't heard all those songs. And I just try to be honest, you know what I'm saying? And that doesn't mean I'm right, you know what I'm saying? I just
that's
try
what
to
I
be
mean.
as honest.
So I'm gonna tell you something about like what we do that works. It's like you think about it the way that you think about it, Mike. And I'm just gonna tell you, it's because you're a Taurus. I've never told you this. You and my grandfather share the same birthday.
Oh,
my grandfather, more than anybody else, is the man who made me and shaped me into who I am. You have a lot of his similar characteristics, but much like him, you got your mind made up. Oh, you're not fucking moving. You're not moving.
I am pretty stubborn.
Yeah. No, Mike, you're just like my grandfather in that sense. I've even told people around me about it. It's like, yo, it's kind of funny dealing with Mike. You've got some of my grandfather's demeanor. It's like, I can't fucking move you when you solidified. And what I do is that I take my opinion, but then I step back and I'm like, what the streets say? You know what I'm saying? And that's really all I do, because that's where I got my opinions and my thoughts from. I can remember all the different hoods I've been in, all the ciphers I've been in, all the different places I've lived. And it's like, it's like what the streets say. It goes back to that mighty, mighty D-Block shit. It's like when you're like, I don't love the record. I'm like, oh, no, too many niggas in the streets then told me they love that record.
Were right.
It's not to be a problem. Right. No, I knew it, Mike. That's why I was like, this is mighty D. I was like, no, niggas in the streets.
You were right. But we were both wrong about that versus.
And so, no. So, Mike, this is what I'm saying. I was wrong because I picked Dipset, but I'll step back and look at something like that Mighty D-Block when you brought it up and be like, no. If they play that shit and it plays well, Dipset's going to have a problem because I know how the streets feel about that record. And so really what I do, Mike, is I keep my ears to the street, and I always have. And so my journalistic integrity, that's just a reflection of what the streets say. So it's like really what cats put me on to and what cats say when they roll up on me because they know I love the culture. Like my man Hub, I go back with Hub since 10th grade. I can still remember the first rap conversation we had. First rap conversation I had with Hub was about Brooklyn Zoo and how Dirty might be the best MC in the Wu-Tang Clan. That was his take.
Wow.
And so, Mike, when I'm making that take about how Dirty's might be the best MC when he's rapping and how Brooklyn Zoo might be the best song, Mike, that's not my take. That's my take from my homie Hub in the back room of homeroom from 10th grade. I never forgot that my nigga told me. I stayed to the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when he said that shit, I was like, nah. But what happened is time happened.
Yeah.
And Brooklyn Zoo happened. And he didn't really rap anymore like he rapped on Brooklyn Zoo. And I'm like, well, I'll be damned.
All this has been a learning experience, just seeing what people think outside of what you think when you're listening to stuff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Daryl Baxter says, write a book, Coop. Be the Michael Eric Dyson of hip hop. And everybody else in here is really supportive and they're saying congratulations of, the resignation and all that. So,
yeah, no. First of all, I am writing a book. Me and Mike need to get together and actually talk about some books that need to be written about this culture because that's actually the next step of what I want to do and where I want to take it is start creating some actual literary pieces for this culture released through according to hip hop that are really for this culture. Like really for this culture. Like I got my endeavors and other life shit set up. I don't need the money. Like I really am doing this shit for the culture, Mike. Every dime that we make is like extra money.
And you know what? It's all love. You know what I mean?
All love. Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing. And
but you just really, but I just stay to the streets, Mike. I stay to what people tell me. I'm never too big. I'm never too past it. I was sitting back when I was watching the verses. And I was thinking about how my cousin cursed me out when I didn't want to listen to East 1999. And he was like, motherfucker, if you don't start listening to different shit. He was like, it's bigger than Ready to Die and Illmatic and niggas. And it's Strictly for My Niggas. You know what I'm saying? And Into the Wu-Tang, he's like, it's bigger than that. He's like, there's niggas everywhere that can rap. He's like, play this fucking shit.
Before we get out of here, Terminator 2 has one for us. It says, Mike D, can we say that Rick Ross is better than Eminem? Yes, we can.
I didn't know we were having those type of conversations.
I mean, you know what? Terminator 2 just missed us going through Rick Ross's catalog.
Right.
And you did a very good job of breaking down Rick Ross's catalog and his illustrious career over 11 albums. Are you going to sit here and tell me that Rick Ross isn't better than Eminem?
You want to know what his catalog is, Mike? And I was kind of afraid to say it, but when I read it out, it's what I thought it was. His catalog is very Scarfacious. He just doesn't have a diary.
Wow.
He doesn't have an all-time great rap album. Scarface has the Diary, but if you take the Diary out of Scarface's catalog, it's just wildly good and consistent work. That's Ross.
And he got the hits on top of consistent albums.
I'm about to say, how about this? So he may not have the Diary, but he got the hits that make up for not having the Diary.
He got BMF.
He got BMF.
Listen, Eminem does not want to enter verses with Rick Ross.
Mike.
That wouldn't play well for him.
Mike. A legend is going to beat him and nobody else. Legend. How many legends do we have walking around?
You know what? Did we need Rick Ross and Snoop Dogg?
That's what I'm saying. Like, how many legends do we have walking around? Because those are the only guys fading this guy. I want everybody to understand that. And so what does that make him?
Rick Ross is a legend.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
All right. And on that note, we are out of here. We might see y'all Monday, and y'all have an incredible week.
Because if only a legend can beat you, Mike, what does that make you? That makes you
a legend.
Legendary. Yeah, he's legendary. Yeah, he is.